That's an excellent connection.
Now we're back.
All right.
Now we're back. There we go. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. I think when I maybe tried to start the scene switcher, somehow I shut the thing off. I don't know. I apologize, you guys.
Well, hopefully everybody's still there. Yeah.
I'm sure if they're not, they'll be back in a second.
Yeah. So
you're playing tomorrow night with Wolf Mask,
and Die Ghost. So Die Ghost is Jay, GraveZig's drummer. It's Jay's one of his other bands. So they're opening. He drums for that band too. So he's gonna set up his drums, tear them down, and then set them up again.
Have you seen this Stormbreaker Boys yet?
I have not seen them live in person yet. I've seen them on like like videos or whatever, like people from the crowd or whatever. But like, it's funny. So with Stormbreaker, I stumbled on them on accident through Apple Music. Like I was kind of going down like this little rabbit hole or whatever. And then I was like, holy shit. I mean, you know me, like the music. I mean, I like a lot of music, but Stormbreaker is like almost like tailor-made for me to listen to.
Right.
And I was like, this is fucking awesome. And then found out they were a local band. And I was like, oh, that's pretty badass. But then what was really cool is when I was watching the podcast that you had the two guitar players on. It's is it Ben and
Billy?
Billy and
Logan.
Logan. Yep. I apologize, guys, for not getting your names wrong or whatever. But yeah, Billy and Logan. I won't forget it again. Watching that podcast, I was actually texting with Kyle a little bit because I was sending him like clips of Stormbreaker, and I was like, man, I'm watching these kids on kids. Got it. It's not because you're young.
No, they are kids.
Old.
No, they are kids. I mean, literally, they're barely over 20 years old.
So I was like, I told Kyle, I was like, dude, I'm watching these guys on Jared's podcast, and I was like, it reminds me to a T of you and I when we were in our early 20s, like the way they were interacting,
Yeah, he kind of reminds me. Billy kind of reminds me of you, and Logan kind of reminds me of Kyle, like personality-wise, not necessarily playing styles or anything like that.
Billy's getting a lot of pussy,
just personality-wise.
Enjoy it in your 20s, buddy, because in your 30s, if you're anything like me, you're gonna grow up and.
I love how we're talking to the chair like he's still there. I know, I did it too. I pointed over here like he's sitting here.
But anyways, yeah, watching that, it was just really cool for me. Like, I felt, I mean, I know I don't even know these guys, and it's not like they were influenced by Revelance or Dying Euphoria or anything like that. But I still felt like this weird sense of pride in like, it was just cool that there was like these young dudes coming up, doing the same thing that Kyle and I did, in the sense that like, not caring about what's popular, just doing what you like. And then you're just good at it, sort of like when Kyle and I were doing Revelance, like if you remember at that period of time, everybody was doing like the kind of the new metal, rap metal thing, you know, nobody was doing riffs. They weren't doing guitar harmonies or solos. Like that was all considered like lame.
Which is what you and I grew up calling thrash metal.
Yeah, yeah.
Like just straight up thrash metal, like the Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax. Just straight up metal. You guys were not even still doing it because you guys were young. You started that band in high school. It's not like you were already old guys who never gave up the old dream.
No.
Everybody was into new metal. It was Limp Bizkit. It was Korn. It was Linkin Park. Mm-hmm. And then you guys show up and you're like, no, we're going to do some like real fucking shit.
Yeah. Like we were, I don't know. And it wasn't even a thing. It wasn't even like we thought about it. It was just, I mean, I guess the closest to thinking about it was Kyle and I sitting there going, this is the kind of music we like and nobody's playing it. So we're just going to play it. And so in that regard, that's part of what reminds how those guys kind of remind me of Kyle and I, were the same kind of thing. It's like, I don't care if people like it. We're just going to do it, they are far and away better guitar players in their early 20s than Kyle and I were in our early 20s.
I think honestly, man, they're in like, I've talked about this before. They remind me of Trent and Justin when they showed up.
Yeah. Just sort of game changers.
Yeah. And like maybe they won't change the scene because it's a retro style, right? They're not innovating a music style, but the skill level that they have there at that age, it's like, holy fuck. And then the same thing with that Casey Weishar dude from fucking Revenant Soul.
Yeah.
They're not as well known as Stormbreaker, but that Casey kid can fucking smoke, man. It is fucking something else, dude.
Well, I'm definitely I don't know if they're still watching or not, but the Stormbreaker guys, I mean, yeah, dude, I'm like fully on board, massive fan. In fact, when we were on our way, when we were doing that Chicago trip the other weekend, Alex and Dan and I were driving down there, and we ended up on like not even somehow, Alex and Dan really like Stryper, so we ended up listening to Stryper. So that like changed like like you're playing music on a road trip and you kind of bounce genres, and then whatever. So then that kind of brought us into sort of that 80s vibe, and that's where I was like, dude, have you guys heard Stormbreaker? And they're like, no. So right away I fucking hopped on my Apple Music and threw on a few Stormbreaker songs, and I was just like, holy fuck, dude. And same with Chris is the singer, right? Yeah, dude, that dude's fucking, God, I love it. I love his vibe. Dude, I just love everything about that band, man. They're just fucking awesome.
And Wally did a great job of capturing their sound on record too.
Yeah.
Wally did that record.
They're just, yeah, dude, they're fucking awesome. I mean, the technical proficiency of the guitar playing combined with the phrasing too. I mean, it's just, yeah, I can't say enough good things about those guys. I definitely can't wait to actually go catch a show. But yeah,
they're dope. They're playing Rockfest main stage this year. Yeah. They're opening the main stage on, I think it's the last day on Sunday.
And I saw they're playing the Whiskey again, like for probably like the third or fourth time or something. Even that too, like when they were telling the story about the Whiskey and about how they basically just were ballsy enough to email the Whiskey at first and just be like, hey, can we fucking play there or whatever? That story that they were telling.
Yeah.
Like I was texting with Kyle. I don't know. I was just feeling nostalgic or something because I'm like, I've just felt like I was watching Kyle and I was like,
yep.
So I was telling him that story, and he was like, dude, that reminds me of when like we sent like this press kit to Judas Priest's management trying to explain why we should be able to open for Judas Priest on their tour and shit, But by press kit, I mean this was like 2000. It was just like handmade, like we cut out pictures and like put it in, and then we had this typed up letter about like Revelance is the champions of metal, in a time when guitar solos and guitar harmonies don't exist. Revelance is carrying the whatever. It's just the whole thing or whatever, like. But like just
probably one of the most passionate sales pitches of all time. Dude. But if you read it now, it would make you cringe.
Kyle still has it. He still has a copy of it. And like
so only two options are possible when you read it now. You either giggle or you cringe. Or I guess there's the third option, which is a little of both.
It's a little of both. It's mostly giggle, and then there's a little of like kind of missing that level of innocence of where like when we did that, like we truly believed like, oh, they're gonna read this and we're gonna tour with Judas Priest. Like we didn't even we just. I don't know, like we lived in our own reality, and I think that was important for us to do the things we were doing, being a band, showing up, some of our first shows in the city, playing a Monday night at Station 4 or the Lab at the time. It was just after it was Ryan's.
I don't remember if I asked you this. Did you guys have good gear from day one?
No, God, no. No, we didn't know jack shit from day one, man. Like we were using those Zoom processors and not only did we have our mids scooped on our heads, but then on the processors, we discovered that you could put the mids at -12. I mean, so it was just like a pit of despair. It was awful. We had the worst guitar tone
I do
ever.
remember when I first came into the scene, you guys were already doing really well. So you'd already been around for a while, and you guys still had terrible sound.
So I'm
like
wondering,
you sounded terrible.
Because
it wasn't until like you were officially selling out every time you played, and we're talking like fucking the 1,000 people venues like Star Central, The Rock.
It would have been when we like took the black and white makeup off.
That's when you guys all of a sudden like you sounded like a good band.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a new drummer. It wasn't any of that shit. Like clearly somebody got through to you guys about like whether it was updating gear, getting real tube heads. Something dramatically changed, and probably including not scooping your mids, but it wasn't just one thing. No. I feel like it was
it was we did a conscious decision. It was when we parted ways with Chris, the drummer that we had during the full makeup era or whatever. Then that's when we got Jason, and then during that time we decided to take. I think we took like 6 or 8 months off. We agreed to drop the makeup. And
I got to stop you. I know I asked you a question about tone, but how did you, because this is something that's been discussed a lot. How did you come to that agreement?
That was tough. Because
it's not like you both came up with that idea, right? You wanted to ditch the makeup.
Yeah, it was.
And you basically had to twist Kyle's arm. Correct?
It was. Yeah, it was. That was definitely an area of contention between Kyle and I at the time. Yeah, Kyle did not want to drop the makeup,
but you got him to bend to your will.
I don't really remember how it happened,
and we don't have to go into detail about it.
I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like I was a pretty big dick during that time. Well, maybe not a dick, but I don't know. I wasn't as tactful and respectful in my communication as I am now, and so I'm sure I was probably kind of a bully about it. I probably did some sort of like.
You were right though.
But I probably did something asshole-ish, like we either drop the makeup or I'm quitting. Yeah, I probably did something like that.
Either way,
yeah.
In that case, the ends did justify the means because it was the right decision to drop the makeup.
Yeah.
So, but it was so to get back to the tone question. So it was in that.
It was in that time period. So we
and it was like an 8-month hiatus you took.
I think it was like 6 to 8 months. So essentially, what we did, we played a Halloween show, and that was like it was like a Revelween or whatever. We played that, and we agreed like, hey, after this. We're gonna make a drummer change. We need to change. Like we were kind of like we took this as far as we can. That was my thought. Like we took what we were doing at that time, the full makeup, the style of music, whatever. Just I felt like we kind of took it as far as we were gonna go at that time, and it was time for a change.
So kind of almost like MJ remaking his game
a little bit, yeah.
Like I've gone as far as I can go doing this. We got to do something different now.
And so then we did the makeup thing, which I mean, let's be real, like we still wore like a little bit of makeup, like just some black.
You just stripped it down to eyeliner.
Essentially, it was like a little bit. Yeah, there was like. Whatever, yeah, like a little bit of, I don't know what you would call it, but like a little bit of
fucking eyeliner,
makeup.
Jeremy. Just Jesus Christ, it was fucking eyeliner.
God. And then we got Jason on drums, and then Kyle and I started experimenting with we started experimenting with different amp heads, because part of that was like, hey, it's we've had enough of our respected peers come to us and say, I love you guys, but your tone fucking is dick. And it was like, all right, like it's time. And then we tried out a whole bunch of different amp heads, and then finally settled on, we both ended up liking 5150 tube heads, got our tone.
Well, plus for the price, that's another thing, because this has been a point of contention with me and my guitar players, like why I'm obsessed with that head. It's the price. It's at
the bang for the buck.
At a $1,200 head, you're getting a professional level head that you can dial in pretty much any way you want. You can pretty much get any cab to sound good with it. And in order to actually get a better head, you're at immediately a $2,000 price point. Immediately, just like that. There's a difference. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, did that financial aspect come into it as well, or was it just a tone-based argument at that time?
I mean, I'd like to say that there was all this like grand thought into it, but essentially what happened is, like, I don't know, I can't speak for Kyle, but for me, I was all the bands I was listening to at the time, because this is back when like you still would buy CDs. And so I was looking in the liner notes, like, okay, I really like their guitar tone, and then usually it would say what they use. And time again, I kept seeing, PV amplification, PV amplifiers or whatever. So I was like, all right, there's a common theme here. I like the way their guitars sound. It's this PV stuff. I didn't even have the internet at the time. Internet existed, but I didn't have it. And so I was like, I would just go into actually Danny and Cindy's music that used to be in Coon Rapids there, and I would just try out heads, and they had a 5152, and I plugged into that, and immediately I was like, that's the one. And then I got that, and Kyle ended up getting a 5150, and and then we decided like what songs from the old grouping of songs we thought we could like massage into like fitting where we were going, so we redid like 3 or 4 songs, and then just wrote a bunch of new ones, and then that's when I think it hit more, where it was like, oh, okay, these guys aren't just a good time, they're like, like, hey, this chick's not just hot with a banging body, she actually has something cool to say.
Right. But then you guys still hit another wall later. and you and I had an intimate discussion about this when we were in Dying Euphoria, trying to talk about our futures and possibilities. And you've mentioned this to me personally. We've briefly talked about this on the podcast before, where when that wave of record deals came around from 2004 to 2008, you guys quickly developed a reputation for just being friends with everybody, which devalued the crowds you were bringing. Yeah. So you didn't look like, and this is business speak. This is the inner Jared talk. You didn't look like a profitable asset to a record label because you were friends with everybody. They didn't see the same, because there wasn't the internet, right? So like, let's take a Reaping Asmodea for example, or another prosthetic band, Ambassador Gun, Pat Rulin's band.
Yeah.
These bands sent in press kits, and the record label did see them and review them, but then sat there and watched them via the internet and watched what they were doing over the course of a year or two to decide if they were worth investing in. And then pulled the trigger on these bands. So that's not how it worked back in the day. Back in the day, a town would build a buzz, one band would get signed, they'd blow up. In our case, it was American Head Charge, because this is way post Prince, right? It's American Head Charge. So then for the next 4 to 10 years, in fact, longer, 15, there's a bunch of fucking bands that are being scouted and flirting with record labels. And I remember you telling me this story. You said the fatal flaw of that band was, no matter how good we got, we did such a good job at networking and building relationships that when record labels came into town, they didn't think we were actually worth investing in, because they were like, well, they're just friends with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, there was, which is kind of funny, because like you look at the tail end there where we were packing big venues. It's like, I don't care how many friends you have. You don't have that many friends. You know what I mean? But
that's kind of what I'm getting at. That's kind of my point. Like, maybe you were friends with everybody when there was 300 people at shows. 500 people at shows. Maybe even 600 or 700 people at shows, because you think there's 5 band members. Each person knows 100 people. And they
probably know the same 100 people, so it's still
maybe. But regardless, once you start getting to 1,000 people and you're selling out Star Central and the Rock every time you're playing, that's not. I don't know. That just really bugs me, because it's like what you did so well after all that work of becoming a better band and switching drummers and sounding better and caring about tone and putting the work in, and you did everything right, and then that's what bit you in the ass at the end. It's like, really?
I think
seems like a cop-out answer for them, you know?
I mean, when we did end up, when Relevance called it quits or whatever, I mean, part of that did come down to we were coming to another crossroads, so there was the whole makeup crossroads thing and tone and just whatever, and then we did all that, and then the next crossroads was and this would have probably really drastically changed everything, but I started to kind of feel that Kyle and I as vocalists had gone as far as we could go, and if we wanted the band to go to another level, we needed to go get a frontman. And that was a tough realization on my end, because like my voice had actually gotten pretty decent by the end there, my screaming, but I still felt like it wasn't enough to stand toe to toe with the bands that were like quote unquote doing it for real. So that was, I don't know if I really talked about this publicly, but that was kind of where we were at that point, where it was like, I thought as much as I don't want to do it, I think we need to go get a singer. Somebody who can just, and I thought, like, imagine everything that we've done musically so far while also having to sing and play guitar at the same time. It was like, imagine what we could do if we didn't have to do that, and so that was a tough sell. And there was just some other stuff too. I mean, I won't go into all the personal details, but like there was.
We'll save that for Kyle's episode.
Yeah, there was some other stuff going on too. I mean, Kyle and I are definitely like brothers. I mean, best friends since high school. But of course, there's a friendship like that is bound to have ups and downs or whatever. And we were definitely in a very, very down point of the friendship at that time too. And we were having the drummer situation, where Jason had quit and he was thinking about coming back, and we were auditioning drummers. I mean, there was just a lot of stuff going on at that time that it just kind of led to, I guess, me essentially coming to the conclusion that I'm not getting anywhere with where I think the band needs to go, as far as the discussions of getting a singer and this and that. Mine and Kyle's friendship, which mattered a lot to both of us, was really started to deteriorate. And it was one of those things where, and Kyle and I have talked about this numerous times since then, where it was kind of like Relevance had to break up in order for Kyle and I to remain friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't the reason why, but that played a big role in it, So, and then that's...
No, it's tough, though, because when you spend that much time with somebody for that long, like... It's very difficult for, after all that time, that's the person you now want to go hang out with. And so that's the thing. That's where therein lies the rub. It's like, we already spend so much time together. Like, I don't want to go to the bar and hang out with you because I've already hung out with you 40 hours this week, basically,
Well, and Kyle and I were in very different places at that time too. Like, he had a very long-term serious relationship. I was, single, and we've already covered the lifestyle I was living at that time. And so, like, we were just in very different places too, and yeah, like, cause because we were best friends, like, we would have band practice together. Then we'd go to the gym and work out together. Then we'd go hang out and watch movies and bullshit together. I mean, it was almost like working with your spouse, and it just became, it was really straining things, and so.
And here's the craziest part, right? So if, like, you guys are let's say you're wildly successful, the band's making money and shit, you're going to sacrifice the friendship shit, keep the band going.
Yeah.
But when you're not wildly successful and there's options on the table, you go, dude, the friendship's way more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just dissolve the band is what we have over here. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're Metallica, basically it's like, no, I don't want to go fucking have a beer with Lars. No, I don't want to do that. But I'm not going to leave the band either.
Yeah.
Because this is working too well for too long. So, I have my other friends and, that's my brother. But no, I'm not going to hang out with my brother every fucking day.
Yep.
Because, I spent my whole life with him.
Yeah.
Like,
it ended up, I mean,
it's only a matter of time before I want to punch him in the ribs again.
And in the long run,
I have a brother. I get it. I have several brothers.
And in the long run, and Kyle and I have had numerous conversations about this too. It's like, in the long run, it worked out for the best because, like, I don't know, how much longer was Relevance going to be able to sustain the level we were at? Probably not a whole lot longer, maybe another year. So there's that. And then you look at everything that Kyle and I did in our music careers after that. We wouldn't have done those things with Relevance. We would have been local heroes, maybe regional, not heroes, regional sidekicks. And that's about it. We never would have become national. We never would have toured. We never would have,
I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm not convinced of that anymore. Because I would have said the same thing about any of my bands, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with the power of the internet and your ability to find your fan base now, I think you guys, especially with things like Patreon, with all things being equal, Relevance is still happening. I think you guys don't have day jobs. I think you're making enough off figuring out a clever way to do Dead to Fall style YouTube videos, doing Patreon, touring, selling merch.
I mean, I guess I could see that.
I do not see you guys having day jobs, but unlike a Stormbreaker, we didn't grow up in that technological standard and access. We grew up in an era behind gatekeepers and lighthouses, basically.
Yeah.
We talked about this with Patrick.
Yeah.
And it was just a completely different ball game. It was a literal game of luck and who do you know and work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like this trifecta of who knows. Now there's a literal algorithm that will just show you how to do it.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is just put out quality content. That's the secret now.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. And then just follow the algorithm, and the algorithm will find people that are into your shit if it's actually good. Like, I was trying to explain this to some other people that I've had on the podcast. Like, the reason I don't have 1,000 subscribers already is because I don't fucking deserve 1,000 subscribers. I haven't figured out what it takes to get 1,000 people to like this podcast. Not enough to hit that red button. I mean, that's obviously not entirely true because we have thousands of views a month on the YouTube channel, and we've got basically 1,000 subscribers across the. You get my point.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
well, hitting the subscribe button. I don't know how everybody is about it. I mean, I'm fucking old at this point. I just turned 40.
It is free.
So, yeah, but it's like one of those things where like I've found myself like I might see a video on somebody's channel and like, oh, that's cool, but I'm like, well, I don't want to subscribe to it because I don't want to like oversaturate my subscriptions. You know what I mean? Like, because I like to just go when I'm browsing YouTube. I usually do it on my TV. Like, I just like to go to my subscriptions and just see what's been uploaded. Well, if I subscribe to every motherfucker who I thought had a cool video, well, now my subscription thing list that I look at might as well be my fucking YouTube feed because it's just full of shit. So,
100%.
You know, I don't know if other people are like that, but that's where.
No, I'm like that
Yeah.
too. I actually just went through and cleaned up a bunch of my
Yeah.
subscriptions because I was getting the same thing. I'm like, dude, like I have so many people I'm subscribed to, and I'm not interested in any of this actual content.
Yeah, it was only one video that I liked or
Right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I will also temporarily subscribe to check your shit out.
Mhm.
You know, and it's like, oh, I liked 2 or 3 of your videos, but now you're not doing that shit anymore. I'm
Yeah.
not interested. So, but yeah, that's basically what I'm getting at is I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, for
I
me,
haven't
like,
actually
yeah,
earned that.
I subscribe if it's a channel that is continually releasing content that I'm interested in, and it's like, okay, well, now I don't want to miss out on what they've got. But yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm also fucking 40. I mean, I'm sure 15-year-olds do it. Well, they're probably not even on YouTube anymore. They're on TikTok or some shit because their
There's also
attention
that-
spans are about that big.
There's also that thing that happens to me too, where like for some reason I'll be on my phone and I'll end up on YouTube through my browser somehow, and then I'll be like, yeah, I want to subscribe to this, and then it's like sign in, and I'm like, oh fuck that, I
Yeah.
ain't signing in.
Right?
Like
we've become so lazy as humans.
I'm
It's
like already signed in on this other thing,
Yeah.
and then like oh fuck this, I'll just fucking do it later, and I never do, you know.
Dude, as much as I complain about like all that kind of shit, I do the same stuff. You know what I mean? Like people have fucking, they don't have any patience anymore. And then there's me, I'm like, buffering. Well, fuck you then. I'm not going to watch your video, you know? Or I've even gotten to the point, I'm such a hypocrite, dude. I'm like, God, people can't even sit down and watch like something longer than, 5 minutes. And then I'll look at a video and I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting. And then you look at how long it is. I'm like, 7 minutes? Well, fuck that, man. Like, I'll just read the comments and see if I can like summarize what was happening in the video and move on.
No, I feel that too, because like I do that too sometimes, where I'm like, I have a certain amount of time. I got 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And either I want to jump back into a podcast, like recently it's been the Rogan Tarantino one.
Yeah.
That was a cool
That
one.
was a good one.
And so I've listened to that one a few times actually in separate chunks. So now I've looped back over and heard a few parts multiple times and shit. But sometimes I'm like, I got 20 minutes to kill. What do I want to watch during that 20 minutes? And if I see something that's 32 minutes long, I'm like, nope, that's too long. Nope, that's too long. My little brother even makes comments about it. He's like, I don't understand how you get a few hundred views on these videos. Like, dude, I see something that's 6 minutes long. I'm like, I don't have time for that. How do you get somebody to sit down and watch a 3-hour podcast? I'm like, you'll get it when you're older. Like that's my only answer. That's my only answer for him. But even then, I still do the exact same thing you just described. And I still complain about it for other people not doing it too.
For sure. You fucking damn kids, and then you go and do the same fucking shit that they do, Yeah.
I'm a lot more liberal with my likes than I am my subscriptions.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
I'll toss a like for sure. Or I'll even try to toss some sort of generic comment just so hopefully it helps their algorithm or whatever. But even if it's just throwing an eggplant in there or something, just something that, gives them another comment. But yeah, no, I don't know. And I found like a lot of times like your podcasts and then Andy's YouTube, I wouldn't call it a podcast, but whatever Andy does with his Thrash Metal Studios channel.
Yeah.
I really enjoy like at ending like in the evening or night, like just throwing that on when it's live. I don't like when it's not live, but when it's live, it's kind of a nice way to like end my night. I don't know, like it feels like I'm hanging out with my buddies.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I've done that too, because he does his on Wednesday nights, and sometimes I'm sitting here like I do a lot of tweaking of gear and setups and things and experimenting and tracking of demo ideas and shit, especially lately. And yeah, sometimes it's just cool. I'll see him on and I'm like, yeah, I want to just throw that on, and I'll just listen to fucking Andy bullshit in the background.
It's comforting.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
I totally feel exactly what
I love
you're saying.
it, but it's got to be live. I don't like if it's not live, I don't get that same feeling. For me, it's like, because if it's live, I feel like it's kind of like we're hanging out. We're just not hanging out, you know?
Yeah, because I don't even always jump in the comments.
No,
sometimes
not
I do
always.
if I'm like sitting here drinking and I'm literally just at my computer drunk. I'll fucking chime in. And fucking, what's up, motherfuckers?
Yeah.
And I'll like ask questions and interact and shit. And I did it a lot more at the beginning when he first started, because it helped him get his thing going. But
also, I don't know if Andy's watching.
Probably not.
But if he does end up watching, play guitar more often in your videos. And I say that selfishly because I just really like watching you play guitar. There's something about...
I think you should jack off in your videos, because I really like watching you jack off.
Well, those he sends to me personally, but that's part of his Patreon. That's the top tier subscriber.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
No, but like Andy, this is gonna come out the completely wrong way, but like one of the reason I love watching Andy play guitar is because it's so effortless. And I don't mean that he doesn't put effort into it, but if you ever watch Andy play guitar, it looks like it's just this thing that's happening.
Yeah, it's frustrating too, because he's like, he honestly, in many respects, really doesn't know what he's doing, because I've heard him try to talk about it and explain it while he's doing it, and I'm like, oh shit, you don't know what you're doing. Like, you're just doing this.
But he's just so, I mean, like, I don't know, man, there's something about the way he plays. It's so smooth and, I mean, effortless. That's the only way I can describe it. It's just like when I watch him play it, it's comforting. It's weird. It's like having AM radio on or something. It's like, it's really comforting watching him play guitar. So anytime I'm watching one of his videos and he like grabs the guitar and he's going to noodle around on something, I'm like, yes. Like, I don't know. There's something about that. So yeah, Andy, fucking play guitar more in your videos, just for me. I don't care about everybody else.
Yeah, fuck them all.
I don't care. Just do it for me.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've been getting a lot of shit lately, which I think is a sign that we're starting to grow a little bit
shit
more.
like about your podcast, or
and about me, and like what I do and things I say, and
I mean, we've had these conversations before.
I think a lot of the criticisms are true. And some of them are kind of on the head.
I mean, like we've had the conversation before where like there's some nights I have to turn your podcast off because it's giving me anxiety, because I'm like let your guests fucking talk,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, like, I don't know, dude. As you continue to go, you're grinding and figuring it out, and like, I think it's one of those things where like your personality is what's going to help set the podcast apart. You just got to figure out how much of that to use.
Yeah, and at the beginning, I had a lot to say, because I was also establishing my personality and my takes on things. And as we've gone on and done more episodes, people have gotten to know me more, and it's natural that I speak less in this as well.
I notice it depends on your guest too. I think the more comfortable you are with your guest, oddly enough, the more you end up kind of cutting them off or doing whatever. And if it's somebody that you're not as familiar with, you tend to, you kind of like it. I think it
probably.
I think it's because
you're probably 100% correct.
Well, people in general, we all bring out, I think like the comfort level allows like if you and I are on your podcast together, we're just two buddies fucking shooting the shit. There's full on comfort level there. So you're not really going to be mindful of where the conversation's going, or you know what I mean? We're just going to roll. Whereas if it's somebody that you're not real familiar with, you might be a little more in your head of like, oh, okay, I got to like kind of let this dude talk. I got to kind of figure out, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And it's a weird dance. It's a weird dance because not everyone, like you, I can just like, sometimes I don't even have to finish a thought. You'll cut me off and you'll like, specifically you, and you'll go a completely different direction, and it works because you can fill the space. You can make it entertaining. It's fun. And somehow it's actually going to be relevant.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm talking, it's like I'm trying to set and it doesn't come across on camera for the viewers. It's only, you can only tell when you're here in this room. And I'm trying to set guys up to talk or say things, and they're giving me less and less. And sometimes they've already been on the podcast, so it's like they're just going through something. Sometimes they haven't been on the podcast, but I know them really well, and they're just clamming up on camera. So it's a weird thing, man. And then there's also every once in a while there's that little thing where it's like, okay, listen, I'm fucking getting really bored. Like, I don't care where you were going with this. This is fucking boring, and I've literally lost interest in this story. Yeah. If I'm feeling that way, the viewers might be as well. If I'm and I do have a point where I'm going with this. If I'm not entertained, I can't expect them to hit the red button to tie it back to what we were talking about. Yeah. I can't. If I'm putting out something that I don't even find fun or entertaining, who am I? So I had a conversation with a fellow podcaster recently, and I just came back to the same philosophy I started the podcast with, which is we just got to create content. And this ties back into making music with the relevance thing. We have to make content that we want to do, that we are interested, like relevance, like Stormbreaker, like what my podcast is. This is a podcast I would want to watch. It's just dudes. Musicians is the foundation, right? Like Rogan in his comedy, hanging out, bullshitting. It's not an actual interview. I can do interviews. I don't enjoy them. I don't enjoy watching them. I do the interviews, or closer to an interview, when it's somebody's very first time on, or I don't know them very well, so I can get to know them as much as possible. But it's weird because 50% of my friends that we trust, the peers that'll call you and be like, dude, that was a great podcast. And I'm like, thanks, man. And then the other 50%, and they'll be like, what the fuck was that? Am I watching fucking Larry King? And I'm like, no. And they're like, dude, that's, you know, and like sometimes we get shit-faced and fucking Tim Seiler fucking passes out on the podcast. And I got fucking people blowing up chat. This is the content I'm fucking tuning in for. It's like I literally, no matter what I do, can't make even all of my current subscribers happy with each podcast.
Yeah.
I had to give up. I had to just go, all right, here's the deal, dude. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to try to get better at it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. There's not a playbook for this. The closest thing to my playbook is Rogan, but I don't want to be Rogan. I'm not Rogan. I'm not going to try to be Rogan, right? I stole the format. I stole the setup. It ends there. Fuck, man. I'm figuring it out as I go. It's kind of like what your parents used to say, only when they lied. They're like, there's no book written about being a parent. There's a lot of books written on parenting.
You just didn't read them, you lazy fuck.
Right. And yes, there's a lot of fucking books written on podcasting, but you know what they're about? They're about fucking make sure that the mics are set up properly. Like here's a way to interview people. And it's like, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not interviewing people.
Or the tactical shit, I should say.
You can like pull some things. Like the best things I've found out is actually listening to guys like Conan and Letterman talk about hosting their shows and about how to make it feel like a conversation and not an interview. That's like honestly probably the closest thing to actual tangible talent advice I could get on this platform. Otherwise, point being is I'm fucking figuring it out as I go, bro.
And you know, and something that a lot of people probably don't think about and I don't think about it sometimes either, is like, it's your podcast. You're the host of the podcast, right? So like, there's a certain level of pressure of like, you have to keep it moving, and but it's all reactionary. It's, and so you're in the moment and you're feeling there's a lull, or you're feeling there's this, and maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, you don't know, but you have to act on it because it's live and it's in the moment.
100% correct.
And so
that is probably the most accurate observation I've ever heard of what it's like to try to do this. And then you're also trying to interact with chat.
Yep.
You're also trying to produce your own podcast, because I don't have a Jamie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm literally only able to even dedicate 50% of my brain to my guests, which is that's where I have the most guilt.
Yeah.
Is that I can't even be 100% present, because I'm constantly looking at, is the feed still up? Are we still doing well?
Yeah.
And it seems like every time I forget about this camera dropped. Can you do me a favor, dude? Can you just fucking bring it up, and then it'll fall a little bit? Probably fine. Let it go. That's perfect. That's good. I
think we lost a lot of people when we lost the live, because the chat was hopping, and then now it's gone.
Yeah, we actually have more people watching now than we did then, but yeah, they're just not in chat. That's probably because we're actually having a decent.
Yeah. Well, get in the chat, because that's fun.
And we will get to the chat stuff, I promise you guys.
Send eggplants.
But no, that's probably the most accurate observation, because the thing I have the most guilt about is that I can't even be truly 100% present. Like if we're hanging out in the gazebo, just chilling, having a couple beers, fucking hanging out, listening to music. Here, it's just so like, it takes a lot of mental focus to try to get my 50% there. And then it's exactly what you said. It's not only reactionary, but there is a little bit of entertainment value and all those kind of things. And then I'm also kind of, because I'm not very good at it, I'm kind of forgetful, right? So sometimes if it's like, okay, this thing we're actually talking about really doesn't have a long-term, or we can get back to this later, but you just said something that reminded me of this, and I know we can fill 15 or a half hour on this.
Yeah.
I actually stopped doing this a while back, but that's exactly probably what the first 30 or 40, maybe even 50 episodes were like, dude, is like, not only did I not know what I was doing, I was 100% reactionary. I'm divided in my attention span back and forth between all of these things. And then there's the one thing I have not actually remembered to acknowledge. There's the performance adrenaline. I was so excited for those first 30 shows. Like, dude, I'm telling you, man, the day of a podcast, it was like waking up knowing you got a concert that night. I was so pumped. So like, dude, when Zach Boyd showed up, or Greg Moog, dude, my energy level was so high. I was talking so loud and so fast. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I was just so pumped. So it's a growth. It's a journey like anything else. Remember your first time you played on stage?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you killed it. You did. You killed it. But you didn't kill it like you did your 100th show.
No.
I haven't even done 100 shows. We used to do a couple hundred in a year. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're doing every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Like, all year long. Do that fucking math, dude. That's 150 something shows a year.
Yeah.
Just like that. You do a few tours in there. You start picking up some really high-end Weekend Warrior shit for where you're picking up a weird Sunday all ages show. All of a sudden, maybe you're leaving on a Wednesday after work because you got a Wednesday night show. Some weird shit. Like, maybe you picked up a national gig in fucking Rochester, Minnesota at a casino.
It's all about getting the reps in, man.
Dude, all of a sudden you're 250 shows in a year. I haven't even done 100 of these podcasts yet.
Yeah.
So the seasoning I have as a musician on stage, you're still looking at like a baby bitch podcaster. Like I was a musician, 7 months of nothing. I am still green at this, dude. I act like I know what I'm doing, dude, because I have confidence as a performer. Like there's no show going on here, but I'm not good at this.
Well,
I'm not good at this.
What's happening is,
and I'm not gonna be till another 200 or 300 episodes.
Yeah, essentially, what's happening is like your journey is being captured on camera, and and it's out there for people to see, like your journey of growth. It's almost like
just as a podcast.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, as a podcaster, and so. Yeah, I mean that's just like it's kind of like a little bit like what I've been doing with like these the music I've been recording just of my own stuff. It's like, yeah, dude, like I'm aware, like, yeah, dude, sometimes I'm singing pretty decent. Sometimes I'm fucking flat. Sometimes, but it's like this is just my journey of me trying to explore this other side of me as a musician. You know?
And then there's two journeys there because you're technically recording and mixing and doing your own shit.
And I'm doing it. I'm doing it all here. I'm doing it all on GarageBand on my phone. And
do you have the Apogee? Is that what you're doing? You're plugging directly in.
I have a fucking little dongle thing? And I have an iRig and I plug in. And so for the people that. Most people, honestly, are pretty cool and pretty supportive, but there's a few dicks out there. So for the dicks out there, most recordings that you hear of people singing or playing an instrument, they're able to go in and sing that one word that was flat or that one phrase that didn't get the tone that they liked. Every single thing that I'm doing is one take. Sure. Because on my phone, it's just I don't have the ability to get in there.
You can't punch in and
just
out.
Punch in. Like you can do it with the software, but I can't physically.
You need
do it
Logic.
Yeah,
Logic is the full blown version of that on the actual Mac computer,
and I need something bigger so I can get in. You know what I mean?
But even if you had a nice iPad.
Yeah, like, an iPad would be awesome.
Like you can't punch in and out in GarageBand. There's just entire feature. That's why it's free.
Yeah.
So it's kind of impressive at that point. So you're challenging yourself not only as a one-take musician, but you're also, and here's what I was getting at, there's a second journey there. There's an entire separate skill set to getting yourself to sound good on recording.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, because I am telling you, man, like I can fucking crush on stage. But the shit I record down here, I'm like, why do I shouldn't even do this anymore. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And then I sit there and I EQ some shit. Literally, I don't even like sound meter my kick drums. All I'm doing is EQing it. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound so bad. I'm like, oh, I just missed a couple things. I'm like, oh, this actually sounds kind of good. And like all of a sudden, like I'll send it to a buddy and he'll send it back and polish it up, like literally produce it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy fuck, this is really good. Like that's what I sound like live. Getting it to sound like that on record is a totally different skill set.
Yeah.
So that's also a journey.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, and like I said, I mean,
now that I think about it that way, I'm actually really excited to hear what you're going to put out a year from now.
Like my ultimate goal, I'm going to keep farting around with this stuff, doing what I'm doing, and I don't share it because I'm like, "Oh my god, everybody's going to think this is amazing." I share it because I did it and I want to put it out there. You know what I mean? And I'm sharing it as a demo, as a test, whatever you want to call it.
Well, and if you have good friends that know what they're talking about, they're not just going to shit on you. They're going to point out things you can fix.
Oh, yeah. Like, Gesmer's really big on that.
You're doing this thing with your vocals. Here's what you should do. Go in there, open it up, even in GarageBand, and add this filter.
Yeah.
Or add this compressor at these settings, or do this, or do that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it sounds better. And you're like, fuck, if I wouldn't have put this out there, nobody would have been able to give me that advice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like humility combined with vulnerability.
Yeah, there's a few
with courage.
There's a few angles.
You got to be brave to put that. I don't want to keep cutting you off, but it's important I say this. You got to be pretty fucking brave to do anything online.
Oh yeah,
like you open yourself up to the world to literally have anyone without your permission shit in your mouth.
Oh yeah. Every time. So here's something that happens with me every time. Every time I share one of those,
you're such a disappointment.
All those songs or any of that stuff that I share. So here's what happens is like, I'll finish recording it, which again, I'll remind everybody, like it's one take stuff. So I have to look back. Like if I listen back to it and be like, all right, 90% of this was decent, but that part sucks. do I feel like I have another take in me that can get a 95% decent, or should I just take this? You know, so there's that. So it's the least worst take to begin with. And then I put it out there. And then at first I'm like happy that I shared it because I feel good that I just created something, right? And, you know, as a musician, you just feel good with that. But then what ends up happening is then I put my phone down and I go about my business, and then I just start getting this anxiety.
I know exactly.
And I'm like, oh my God, like
I just did this to you.
Yeah, I'm like, people don't know that most people are used to just recordings that they hear, like real recordings. They don't understand that like there's a lot of tricks that go into making that person sound perfect.
Dude, I know. I didn't even post my shit online. I fucking did a run through.
I gotta piss.
Go for it. I'm sure you'll still be able to hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I did a run through, and I hadn't played drums in a year, and I jumped on the kit. I recorded this demo, and I sent it to you and a handful of other people. And at first, I was super excited, and then the anxiety hit because I started hearing not just the flaws, but I started hearing all the flaws. That's what I'm curious about, is like when people come to you when you put something out there and they just like they're trying to be helpful and honest, and they just point out the flaws you're already aware of. It's like, fuck. That's all you get from them. That's all you get. Sometimes if you're lucky, they'll point out something genuine that was really cool, or something you could do or add that you legitimately didn't hear. But then there's other times, I should say, then there's all the other times. The worst one, though, I still remain to this day. The worst one is sounds good, or sounds great, or sounds cool. Like there's nothing there. I can't work with that, dude. Sorry, guys. In case you haven't figured out, Jeremy's peeing. Jeremy's going to the bathroom. Oh, and the feed's slowing down. What's going on? Because we're on Wi-Fi? I think it's because we're on Wi-Fi. I can't believe we've been on Wi-Fi this whole time. Makes perfect sense. We'll be right back. I'm going to restart this. Not on Wi-Fi. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Go to main cam. Make sure it's a smooth transition. We'll be right back. Oh, no. We don't want to end it. No, we want to stop it from here.
Big blues again?
No, but I figured out we're on Wi-Fi, and that's why my frame rate's suddenly dropping, so I just got to pause it for a second. We'll be right back, guys.
Oh, yeah, people are commenting on my post saying that it...
And we're back.
I'm going to share the link.
You can share the new one, because it basically is up in 2 episodes now. There's probably a 5 or a 20-minute version, and then there's this one. Because when the first one dropped, we weren't able to get back into that.
I'm going to... Sorry, everybody.
No, we should be good now. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Why we need a fucking producer. It's why we need more Patreon subscribers. That's why we need you guys to hit that red button, please. Go to patreon.com, Jared Singer Live, and join the Patreon. You can either donate or you can join on a monthly basis, please. That way we can get better equipment and get a producer so we can make sure that these production issues do not continue to happen. That's honestly the first thing we're going to do with the money. It's not like I'm going to sit here and live this big, fat, happy life on it. The first thing we're doing with that money, like if we get to a point, is we're buying better gear and we're going to bring somebody in that can actually do this and make it work. Because I have no fucking what I'm doing. It's like what we were discussing earlier when you guys didn't know anything about tone or tubes or any of that shit. That's still where I'm at. I somehow have managed to make it all work, but
there, I just posted it again, so hopefully.
Not very good. I'm a shit podcaster. I get it, guys. I apologize.
So, back to that anxiety after you share something and then, you're just like, oh God, and then you, even though you listen to it like 50 times and you're like, okay, I'm comfortable sharing this. It seems like as soon as you share it, you listen to it one more time and you're like, oh fuck, why did I share that? But yeah, anyway, so that's
the worst one is still the sounds good. Sounds good.
Oh yeah, sounds
I can't do anything with that.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. Just put it out on come on.
Yeah.
And then or the obvious ones like, oh, it's like I sent a demo to somebody recently and they were like, do you have something with a better sound quality? It's a fucking demo.
It's a demo.
Like that's literally the one thing you're supposed to look past and mention anything else.
Yeah.
Anything else.
That's one of the things I've realized too is that, us being musicians for God knows how long, sometimes I think we take for granted that kind of the ins, like a lot of people don't know what demo means. You know what I mean? Like they really don't. They're just like, oh, you're like demoing it for me? Like you want me to hear it? They don't, they don't know that demo means, no, this is like low quality. I'm just trying to capture some ideas.
Right.
And I want you to tell me what you think about the ideas, not the recording quality or even the performance quality. Like what, do you think this is a good song? Right. But
and some people can't hear past the bad quality to tell if it's a good song.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for a lot of people.
It's one thing if you're sending them something that like sounds like a black metal album from 1992. Like, that's going to be they're not going to be able to hear past that. But
dude, I remember when we used to record demos though, which was us in a rehearsal space and we put a boombox in the middle of the room and had to throw a blanket over it so we didn't blow out the mic.
Yeah.
But it would literally sound good enough to where we would do. I remember my very first band literally booked shows by doing that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, dude. I remember my very first band with my cousin, with Rob Blake, if he's watching. We used to do demos using his parents' karaoke machine or karaoke. I don't know. I always say karaoke. I'm probably wrong. But
no, I think it is. I think it's karaoke.
Is it karaoke?
We're a version of that.
We used to use their fucking
karaoke.
We used to use their
no, I think it's karaoke.
Karaoke.
I think you're right.
We used to use their karaoke machine.
Karaoke.
Like, so you'd plug in the two mics and we would just like put them in the room, and then like and then you were just so excited to like have a recording of your band. You're just like, oh, that's kids these days. They don't know how good they have it. Now you can fucking, most of them can fucking. Most of them don't even need to go, except for needing a producer to help them fish out the shitty ideas for like recording quality. A lot of these younger musicians are fucking killing it. It's just like,
I think some of them are because they're still actual musicians that are taking advantage of the technology.
Yeah.
And then there's the other group of musicians which are literally dependent on the technology.
Yeah.
And they're not actually.
And that's where I noticed that there's a certain, and it's probably that group where it sounds stale. Like it sounds good.
It sounds pristine.
It sounds pristine,
clean,
but
it sounds sterile.
Yeah.
Sterile.
Yeah, sterile. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Did I say stale?
Yeah.
I meant sterile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But stale is still.
Or stale. Maybe I did mean
stale.
Stale
Works.
Yeah.
Stale works. But
Probably
yeah,
both
I say sterile because it's like it was made in like a lab. It's in a clean. This was assembled in a lab.
Yeah.
In a manufacturing plant in a clean room.
And you've heard that same plugin used on 500 bands. EPs or whatever.
Yep.
That's the stuff where it's kind of like, oh, that's a bummer because like your song is really good, but it's like,
and a lot of people don't understand what we're talking about. So like literally here's what we're saying is like, if I hook up a really nice mic in front of my guitar cab, yes, it's still taking an analog signal and it's converting it to digital ones and zeros to get into that computer. We all understand that. But you're capturing my fingertips on those strings, through those pickups, through that head, through those speakers, through that microphone, which is capturing my tone. and then going into the computer. What most guys do now is they take their guitar and they plug directly into their interface, which is basically their computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they digitally recreate the amp. And so all of those things we just mentioned are now bypassed because it's basically just like even a lot of the nuances of your fingers are now missed because that expression isn't made through an act. It's digitally recreated instead of recorded.
Yeah.
And it misses an authentic the soul of music. And so it minimizes the difference. This is just my opinion, but it minimizes the difference between a human and an AI writing the same thing.
I think like the next step is like, because I've heard guitar players, I mean probably all instruments, but I focus on guitar, of course, who they're able to plug into their interface and still get like something that sounds rich and like them. But it's the other ones where like you can tell like they grabbed this plugin, maybe they EQ'd it a little different, and that was it, and they just played. And it's like, oh, you used the periphery clean guitar setting. The clean guitar that you're playing right now sounds exactly like it was lifted from a periphery album because it's not yours. You didn't even take 5 minutes to tweak it and like make it sound like you know.
Yep. Which would be acceptable on a demo.
Yeah.
Because you're just trying to get the idea.
Exactly. But like but there's so many bands that, you know, that'll release their official albums or whatever. Now granted, it's not the Peripheries or the Born of Osiris's of the world. They're the ones that are doing their own thing, making their own tone. But it's those.
I think what you're talking about is almost like this state of music.
Yeah.
Like this is the state that we're in and how things are accepted to be done. And that's what I was talking about. There's a type of musician we're talking about right now that's dependent on this technology. Because if I sat them in front of a tube amp, they'd try to dial it in like they do on their computer, but it's going to sound like shit.
Yeah.
I'm not even devaluing those guys.
No.
Like that's a skill set that some of them have gotten very fucking good at, like dicking around with the axe effects and the fucking...
Dude, I wouldn't, the same way that they couldn't dial in a tube amp, I couldn't dial in a fucking axe effects or a Kemper to save my life. I wouldn't know what the fuck to do.
And I've mentioned this before.
You know.
I've mentioned this before, and you just mentioned this too. I think you just mentioned this. At least you brushed up against it. There's also a difference between the things we're talking about now and getting your record to sound good. Like that's what a producer does. So like I can sit here and dial in my tube amp all day long to sound great on stage. And then like I said, I put it in my Logic and I'm like, dude, this sounds like shit. But then Wally can take it and it sounds like it should be the next he should produce Metallica. Yeah. Like, holy fuck,
there's
this is
a whole
breathtaking.
art to all that. You know, I think
it's a whole skill set in and of its own.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, you know, and people might be mistaking what we're saying too, is like, I'm not shitting on digital. I'm not shitting on any of that. I'm strictly talking about, it would be what I'm talking about is the modern day equivalent to way back in the day when we first started using processors and like in your guitar rig, right? Like,
let me give you an analogy and tell me if I'm crazy.
Can I finish this one little part here?
Sure,
okay.
yeah.
So because otherwise I'm going to lose it.
You're good.
So the difference would be you get your Zoom processor, right? And then you just go to your...
You're talking like the pedal board.
Yeah,
thing.
like a pedal board. And you go to their preset clean channel and you're like, that's going to be my clean tone.
Right.
That's going to be my lead tone. That's what I'm talking about, is like that equivalent to now where you just plug into your computer and you're like, that's my lead. Whereas guys...
That's a great specific example that I think people actually do.
Yeah.
And it's just extrapolated in a more elaborate fashion. There's another way that I'm looking at this too. It's like the comedians that blow up on TikTok, you know, or Instagram, and they're hilarious because they learned how to do the jump cuts and the edits and like all the other shit. And then they go up and they do stand-up comedy and they bomb.
Yeah.
Because they don't actually know how to be funny. in order for them to be funny, they're literally dependent on the technology in order to create their art.
Yeah.
Whereas like a real comedian can go up on stage and kill it, then make a fucking 7-minute YouTube video of them just ranting, which is hilarious, which then can be cut down to a 3-minute Instagram video, which is still hilarious, which then can be cut down to a 30-second TikTok video, which is also hilarious.
Yeah.
That's the real artist, is that example.
Yeah.
There's still in that translation works in music for me, and whether we're talking about the gear they're using, the technology they're using, or the ability to understand the true real origin of their art, that's still true in music.
Yeah.
So you've got guys like Logan and Billy from Stormbreaker and Casey, like these guitar players that truly understand how to be elite level guitar players.
Yeah.
And then they can step into a digital studio and fucking do what they need to do.
And just kill it, yeah.
But they're still recording with their amps, right? But then you also have a band that knows, okay, we're going to do our thing, but we can utilize YouTube. We can utilize Instagram. We can utilize these features. Okay?
Yeah.
But they could survive back in 1988 because they're still good at their craft, and they would still make it because they don't need that peripheral technology in order. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. They're using it as an extension of their ability.
They're
and their
exploiting
art,
it and taking advantage of it.
as opposed to a crutch, or what they.
Correct.
Yeah. It's just
and then a lot of guys from our OG scene looked at it like it was the end. And it was like, no, this is the new beginning. Like the gatekeepers are gone now, you guys. We have freedom. And they were like, it ended everything. It's like, oh, you want slavery back? That's my analogy. Like, oh, you want it back that way? Like, no, this is way better. It's way harder because there isn't a roadmap. But fast forward 20 years, and here we are. Now there's another roadmap. And there's no gatekeeper.
Yeah, it's definitely.
You just got to put out top-notch content.
It's that. I mean, the tough part is, I think we've touched on this before, maybe, is or maybe I threw it in a chat one time, but the tough part is without, and I don't think there should be a gatekeeper, but this is one of the unintended consequences of no gatekeeper, is the floodgates are open.
Sure.
And so therefore, I can't tell you how many times that I'll be going through YouTube and a band will come on. I do this a lot. It's like a band comes on, never heard of them before, or I thought I'd never heard of them before. And I'm like, these guys are fucking awesome. Holy shit. Grab my phone, plug it into Apple Music, go to add their album. I already have their fucking album. But because there's so many fucking bands out there that are killing it and sound good, I don't remember, whereas back in the day when it was like, you had to go to the store, you had to buy the fucking album, you had this physical thing. Like, you knew what albums. When you had CDs, did you ever accidentally buy the same album twice?
Yes, but it was because I misplaced it, and it wasn't in
but not on accident, right? Like, you didn't know you had it?
I forgot I had it, or I thought I had lost it, and then all of a sudden it was like in the wrong spot at the back end, and I was like, I do have this fucking CD.
Pretty rare, like.
Yeah, I mean, like literally a handful of times. Yeah.
For
so
the most
less
part,
than 5 for sure.
I knew that. I knew what bands I liked because like I had more of a connection to it as opposed and there were less of them because of the gatekeepers, Whereas now, I mean, yeah, dude, it's almost a daily occurrence where I end up finding out that I already had the fucking band in my phone, and it's like, so I already did this once before. I stumbled on their fucking video on YouTube, thought they were cool, added them, and then never fucking listened to them because I did it to 20 other bands that week. So there is something to be said a little bit for I think that spills over into so many things. Like I talk about, being a single guy now, and I'm not out in the dating world, I guess, but from what I know, the dating world is like that now because of dating apps and social media. People essentially treat people like Netflix. It's just, I read the synopsis, I make a decision. Maybe I watch the show for 5 minutes, but now I'm wondering what else is out there. So then I shut the show off and I go to something else. That's how people treat each other now in the dating world.
That is deep, bro. I've never thought about that because I've been married for a while now, dude. Like,
Dude, it is. It's dating
And ironically,
is Netflix.
I think it depends on where you're dating online, because like Tinder was definitely like that way back then.
Well, I think even if you're not in, like, I'm not on any dating apps or anything whatsoever, but I can't tell you, like, and like I said, I'm not even actively dating. I'm like, but I just in my limited experience, and then just the people I've talked to, it's like it's the same pattern of people hop in the chat if you experience it or disagree or whatever. But it's like a lot of people essentially, they talk to somebody for like a week or two. And then next thing you know, they're talking every day, and then now they're just kind of not talking very much anymore, and then they're just not interacting.
It's because y'all fucked, and you're not into it anymore.
Or even if they're not, it's just I just think that the short attention span that this technology has created has transcended into the way we are with people, you know, and so it's just that's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down, but. I don't know. I just see it time and time again where, yeah, like I said, I mean, basically the way I could sum it up is in the dating world, people treat people like Netflix. Not so much friends and stuff like that, because that's different, you know, because you don't have to commit to one friend, right? So it's okay to have 50 shows that you like as far as friends.
Right.
But like one girl or one guy.
Yeah, I wonder if
we got to keep scrolling.
I wonder if we are starting as a society to roll towards like a lot of open relationships, and I wonder if the impacts are going to be the obvious ones that traditional tropes would bring up, and I wonder which ones are unforeseen, you know, like the internet just in general. You know, they thought it was going to collapse one industry, but it didn't. It actually did. Basically, well, I shouldn't say that it didn't collapse industries we thought it was going to, but it changed some industries, and it collapsed other industries that we never saw coming. And it changed so many things. That's what I'm kind of curious about is like, let's say we are going towards this trend of society being in a bunch of open relationships, right? What are the consequences we don't see coming? Like being lost in the woods. It's not all the million things you did plan for. It's the one you didn't plan for that fucks you. Or the other one I really like, being lost in the wood. It's not one big mistake. It's a bunch of tiny little mistakes that add up to where by the time you realize you're fucked, it's too late to fix any of those small mistakes. You know?
Oh yeah.
That's what I always like think about and try to figure out is like, where is this going to go where no one is thinking about it right? Because that's what usually ends up happening. Oh, yeah. That shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Sorry, not to get too deep. But.
No, it's gonna. I think the future is gonna be very. It's gonna be interesting, man. It's like. I don't know. I mean, not to get too far into like controversial subjects, but there's a lot of things I think happening that. Now it seems to make sense that every time we talk about aliens, they're genderless. They don't, you know what I mean? Like when people talk about that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? It's just sort of this being that doesn't have any distinguishing characteristics whatsoever. It doesn't have any gender. It doesn't have anything. It's like, maybe that is where, you know, maybe that is where we're going as a species. And maybe, and I'm not
like some weird asexual shit.
I mean, maybe
because like there's just on the aliens metaphor, like there's another theory that they're like semi like robotic or something, and that's how they survive the vacuum of space for these long trips to even get here. They're not actual living beings. They're like some cross between biological and technological.
Yeah. I mean,
some weird shit. I mean, that's a theory, right?
It's fun shit to like sit and like pontificate on a little bit, because it's like, you know, I don't know. It's like if aliens are even real. I mean, I think with the size of the fucking galaxy or universe, or whatever. I mean, to me, it feels like a law of averages would make it inevitable that somewhere
I think it's mathematically impossible that they don't exist.
Yeah. So maybe all they are, you know, because you talk about like time not being linear and all that shit. Like maybe that is actually just our species in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or that's just where we came from. Like the simple, now it's a simple theory, right? It used to be crazy to even think about, but like we could just be aliens, and that could be where all our versions of God come from.
Yeah.
You know, burning chariot from the sky and fucking made in his image, you know, like, I mean, come on, it could be totally possible. It could also be the regular evolution shit could be possible. And then we got visited by aliens who fucking like fucked with us as chimps to turn us into Homo sapien. Like any of it's possible.
Who knows?
Any of it's possible.
That's the thing. That's why I don't really like, for the most part, I don't really like poo any of those ideas, because it's like, who the fuck knows? I don't fucking know. You know, I'm not, who knows? But yeah,
I do believe, I choose to believe, and I like to believe that we are created by something or someone, and it's all not meaningless.
I still wonder
the atheistic, nihilistic.
Yeah,
I just can't get down with that because it's such a hopeless.
It's hard, dude. I was, I went through a good.
I do believe, I choose to believe, and I like to believe that there is a creator, and I do believe in what we call God.
I went through a good period of time in my 20s where, I was, I don't know. I don't know if I was full-blown atheist. I was definitely agnostic, but probably with like a foot in atheism. And then
you joined a band with me back in the day, and I ruined it all. We used to have a lot of those conversations.
But it was mostly after that. It was really more like my mid to late 20s where I really explored, like, what if everything I grew up being taught was bullshit? You know what I mean? And what else? So then because of that, and I started to ask those hard questions and whatever. And so I went down that path. And I don't think there's anything wrong with going down that path. I just found that for me, like, my belief system now quite possibly is full of shit, but it's where I needed to end up so that I could go back to having some kind of hope. Because when I was agnostic and atheist, for me, it kind of removed a little, like, when things are bad, it kind of removed a little bit of that hope that, right, like, hey, this is all going to make sense at some point. It kind of made me feel like, no, I'm just out in the middle of this ocean and I'm probably going to drown, and that's it. No matter how hard I try not to, I'm going to drown. So then I had to find, like, my own way, and, and it's not the same as everybody else's, but at least I found something, that. And so for me, I look at it as more like there's some kind of energy I feel that connects everything. And what that energy is, whether it's God, whether it's I don't know what the fuck it is, but I think there's something that connects everything and has a path, the same way like an electrical current would have a path, right? I feel like there's a path that we're being drawn down. And so I don't know, I guess that's how I reconcile it with, like, eventually it all makes sense.
Sure.
And so what energy we put out there. So, like, to me, like we touched on briefly earlier today, texting, like, to me, like prayer, I look at it as like, it's energy. I'm going to put some positive energy into something. It's not going to change the outcome, but it might change, I guess, like, help with that person's energy to, this is sounding kind of fucking weird, but like, it just might help someone's energy while they're dealing with something.
Sure.
It's not, the outcome's going to be the outcome. I can't fucking change that, but I can maybe help how it affects you.
Because we were talking about that, because, like, we hear that a lot, thoughts and prayers, good vibes and good energy. And it's like, here's the thing, man, is like, you ain't praying out, you're not out praying God's will. If any of this is true, right? That's what we were talking about before the podcast, is like, you're not out praying God's will, and I kind of misunderstood it, but at the same time, like, I understood what you were saying, and I just, like, I was just kind of really just saying, like, I don't really need that. Like, like, I know that's kind of a standard platitude we say, especially if you think the other person is religious. You'll be like, oh, I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
Because that's what they want to hear. And it was like, that shit don't mean shit to me. Because, like, if God's going to take him, he's going to take him.
Yeah, and that's why I clarified.
Like, we ain't fixing none of that. Like,
that's why
it's all God's will.
I was
right?
more like, no, I just meant like,
and I felt
along that journey, I just want you to have as much peace as you possibly can during that journey.
Yeah.
I feel like as a human being, I can affect that. I can't affect what happens, but I can affect to some degree how you feel during it. And that's where I feel like I can play in that realm.
Yeah. In case anybody's just tuned in and they don't know what we're talking about, my dad had an aneurysm last night, and there's complications after surgery. He went into a coma and had a stroke, and it's really not looking good. It looks like he's definitely going to have some brain damage, so we're worried. Things aren't great, so I just don't want to be vague.
Yeah.
I'm not making posts about it and looking for pity and shit. We don't fake it though either. The podcast is about honesty.
I keeps it real.
Well, it's about what's going on. It's not an interview. So it is what it is. That's what we're dealing with. It's fucking. We're having fun. Because there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
I made sure to mow my lawn today because that's what my stepdad or my dad would have wanted. He is my stepdad, but he's my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He's my dad. Him and my mom. He raised me since. He's my dad.
Yeah,
I mean? I have a biological father. I do know, and I use the word dad interchangeably. But this is my dad. The other guy's my father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I would say out of all the times,
that's what my dad would have wanted. My dad would have been like, "Lawn needs to get mowed." And been like, "But you're in the hospital," and you've been like, "So we got to get mowed."
The grass is still growing, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't get the message that the grass stopped fucking growing while I'm in the hospital. You lazy fuck. No, man. Out of all the times that I've been on I was just thinking about this earlier before we got into this piece of it. This is probably the most serious episode we've ever had that I've been on the podcast.
Still not very serious.
Like, we're gonna let's see, what is it? Almost 8. We're gonna turn it around and we're gonna start getting fucking goofy as hell here pretty soon. I don't know if anybody's even watching, man.
Some people are definitely tuning in and out. Yeah, we got 5 people watching right now.
Ooh,
we've had 24 people check in.
Hopefully, they come back
actually, and that's kind of what we do in the last hour. So it's a little different since you've been on last.
Yeah.
Because last time you were on, we did it with someone else. The Wheeler or Ben.
I crashed Ben's.
Okay, that was the last one.
Yeah.
So we do it a little different now. So in the last hour is when we start getting into the chat. Because it was just too distracting, man. We addressed this earlier. We talked about this. It was like I just need to try to focus and concentrate and just be present with you guys. So go ahead, if you guys got comments or questions, throw them in the chat now, and we'll start jumping in and hanging out. Fucking
about 10 minutes. It's almost 8.
Greg just jumped in. Shout out to Greg Chilton. If you guys haven't subscribed already, make sure you go to my featured channels list on this YouTube page and subscribe to Ritual Madness Podcast. Shout out to Greg. Greg says, "I'm not." I don't know what that means. What did I say?
What we said.
What was the question? Maybe he didn't say like "I'm not." He's like, "I'm not
into girls."
I don't know. I was trying to see how long we could get that dead silence to roll. I just wanted to see how long we could get it.
That was such a juvenile joke, and I apologize.
I still to this day want to recreate the fucking. You remember what was that show? Fucking. Oh my god! With Death Clock. What was the show? The band was
Metalocalypse. Yeah,
Metalocalypse. Okay. Do you remember the bass player, William Metaface? I want to recreate when he does the impromptu thing and it just pops up and he's like, "I just wanted to hold this press conference to announce I'm still not gay." Still to this day, that is probably the hardest I've ever laughed at any single setup and punchline. It was again, like Bill Burr says his favorite joke is, I like my beers like I like my violence domestic, because there's no fat on that joke.
Yeah.
That's, to me, that's the press conference one. I just called this press conference to announce I'm still not gay. And dude, if I ever get fuck you money because I like make it in anything, I'm legitimately doing that in real life, because that has always been something the people are like, you sure you're not gay? You come out of the closet yet? I just called this press conference to announce I'm still not gay.
The guy that I was blowing definitely was gay, but I am straight as an arrow.
I was hanging out with this gay dude after the Coheed concert a few years back, and we went bar because I thought honestly, I thought at first the reason we bumped into each other and started talking is because I thought he was AJ from a band I know.
Okay.
Because he looked exactly like him. And he allegedly thought I looked like somebody he knew. And it was weird, but he was super cool. And fucking my buddy that I went to the concert with was like tired and wanted to go home. So I'm like, dude, I'm trying to go to the bar and fucking have a beer. You want to fucking go? And he's like, yeah, fuck it. And so we went bar hopping, and he's like, later in the night, he's like, so when am I going to suck your dick? And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, dude, straight guys don't hang out with gay guys unless they're either in the closet or they want to get their dick sucked. And I was like, yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do. And he's like, then why are you hanging out with me? I was like, because you're fucking dope, bro. And he's like, yeah, that's not what straight guys do. And it was like this whole thing, like for real, for the rest of the night. And then I let him suck my dick at the end of the night. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. I'm just kidding. I didn't. Is what really happened is literally my wife came and picked us up and fucking drove him home and fucking dropped me.
Yeah.
And he's like, you guys are really nice. And this is not what most straight people are like. I was like, oh, need to hang out with more straight people, apparently.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't like that. This was almost going to come out bad.
How many times have you had your dick sucked?
By like a dude?
Yeah. Specifically dudes.
Specifically a dude? Only 4.5 times.
Sorry, I was reading a comment. I shouldn't have tried to read that comment while you fucking said 4.5.
4.5.
Dude, by the way, I think I've just heard the greatest band name of all time on one of my recent podcasts. You watched the Bud one?
Yeah, it was what the
All
fuck?
4 inches.
All 4 inches.
Dude, that I'm sorry. Whoever made that band name, I'm saying this on every fucking podcast until you come on. I don't care if your band sucks or not. I'm not even going to listen to the music. But whoever came up with that band name, open invite. I want to hear the story, and then we'll listen to you. I'm going to listen to the music on the podcast as a reaction. I won't even listen to it up front.
Yeah.
I'm going to load it up, all the clips, everything like we usually do. Open invite. Whoever all 4 inches. Greatest band name of all time, dude. I swear to God, bro.
When I was a teenager and my cousin and I started our first band, we were trying to come up with a band name, and my mom, there was 4 of us in the band, and my mom suggested the Foreskins, which I thought was a fairly solid band name too. The Foreskins.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty. We would have definitely had to have been a punk band.
Do you know what Steven Tyler wanted to name Aerosmith before they settled on Aerosmith?
It's got to be awful.
Dude, it's so great. And I found this out through searching because I wanted to name the Tyrants this before we settled on the Tyrants. The Clap.
The Clap. God, could you imagine if they...
Aerosmith and Steven Tyler so desperately wanted them to be named. It was exactly the same argument I was making. And this is the irony, dude. So I'm like, it's technically my band. Right?
Yeah.
Technically. Not really, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm starting the band. Like, and these other guys aren't really even in yet.
Yeah.
So, like, technically, right now, if I just make the decision, I have all the power because I'm the only real member. These guys are like wishy-washy, you know. They're literally telling me they might not be here in a few months. They're like, I don't know. And so I'm trying to come up with a band name, and I'm trying to convince them. And so I search The Clap, and I find this article about Aerosmith and Steven Tyler, and there's a whole interview about him. And it's almost verbatim the argument I had just made like a week earlier or the night before, whatever it was. It was so fucking funny, dude. And both of us lost.
So the argument?
The Clap, just that it's fucking genius.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hilarious. And it's so good. Like, how could you possibly not approve this? Like, it's awesome. The Clap. Come on. Everyone has had it. Like, and if you haven't, you kind of want it. Like, because that means you've had enough sex to have it, right? Like, it was just hilarious how similar our arguments were, especially at like, because I had a whole other rant on it, which I kind of just went on. But like, dude, and both of us lost, dude. They ended up Aerosmith and we ended up the Tyrant. So anybody out there, The Clap is still available.
I mean, a lot of people have it, but
here we are. Here we are literally almost 60 years later. And The Clap is still available as a band name because apparently no one actually wants it.
That's funny because I'm sure Steven Tyler gave plenty of people The Clap.
Dude, and not only that, I think a lot of people like me have tried to make that their band name, but they just can't seem to convince 4 other people to be into it.
I feel like it would have to be a punk band. Which
just
I guess
a rock band, baby.
Or like, yeah, somewhere in between like the punk and rock. Like yeah, that'd be a weird. Did you ever watch speaking of Steven Tyler, I watched the making of Aerosmith Pump, like a documentary or whatever. That I mean, I know he's a fucking awesome singer and musician.
He can rip on drums. I know that much. And he's a bitching piano player as well.
Yeah. And the way that motherfucker can write, I was blown the fuck away, dude. Like, I won't even do it justice trying to explain it. Just it's on YouTube, look up Aerosmith making of Pump or whatever, and just watch that shit and watch a pure musical genius at work. It was it's one of those things where you watch it and you're like, that's why I didn't make it. You know what I mean? Like, there are people like that. You know?
I mean, you have a pretty powerful thing too, though, man. And I think you could have made it if you would have been, and I think you still could make it if you, and this is the problem with being in a band. You have to either be a Prince or a Steven Tyler, and you don't have to be in a band with Steven Tyler. You either just have to be one of those guys, or you have to just surround yourself with the right people. And that is the trick of being in a band, is putting a team together. It's like winning a Super Bowl.
And a team that can stay together.
Like, it's literally like winning a Super Bowl. Yeah. There's 32 NFL teams, and just over half of them, I think it's like 18 or 19 or 20, have actually won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an exaggeration. Like, it's not like everyone except the Vikings have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, and only one of them can win it every year. That's basically what we're talking about, simply making it in a band. That's how hard it is, because you have to put together the perfect team just to make it at all.
And keep the team.
And there's you're not competing against 31 other teams over one spot. That's just to make it. You know?
Well, that's like that's what I was saying too, is like, and then keeping that team, quote unquote, together. I mean, I think honestly, and I'm not trying to belittle like my accomplishments in music. If I belittle them, then it's insulting to the people who didn't even make it that far, right?
Or even the people that made it that far with you.
Yeah. So like, as much as I might make self-deprecating jokes or whatever, I am very well aware that I'm very fortunate. And I mean, dude, I was able to I was in a fucking tour bus with a road crew and touring real tours. Like, I do realize how fortunate I was, and I did, whatever. So I make jokes belittling it, but no, it was great. But I think the thing that got in my way was member changes. I mean, it's just, whether it's a football team, whatever it is, like a company, anything.
In our situation, vocalists.
Yeah.
Again, once you found a good vocalist, then when you wanted to going back again after rain got, then fucking Joe fucking weirded out. Like,
it's just, no business, no team, whatever. If you're constantly changing, if you're having tons of turnover.
I mean, yeah, both your bands were a plague of rotating drummers and or singers.
And that's the only way where, like,
and I was in one of those bands.
Going back,
I was one of those singers, just in case any viewer or listener doesn't understand the roots of this conversation.
And going back to the Revelant stuff we were talking about earlier, that's maybe the one.
I gotta piss. Keep talking.
That's maybe the one way that maybe Revelants could have kept going is the fact that if Kyle and I stayed together, we would have been able to, I don't know, I guess always had that glue and that creative driving force that stayed together. Sort of like Gene and Paul, or Lars and James. That would have been Kyle and I, to a much lesser degree, of course. So that maybe could have made the band work if we had kept going. But yeah, when it came to Dying Euphoria, it was just that revolving door, and and especially when the revolving door includes your singer, that's tough. I mean, I'm still shocked at the amount of success that we were able to have with Dying Euphoria, considering we had four different singers, 4 or 5, and so yeah, that's just that's another one of the keys. You've got to have the talented players. You've got to have at least one person who can write music fairly well, and then you've got to have a good live performance that is solid and entertaining, and then you've got to keep that group together. I mean, it's such a fucking.
And then you have to
uphill,
and then people
battle.
that fuck with you have to make money on you, otherwise you're not worth fucking with. That's the big sneaky one, because you can have all that other shit figured out, but if people book you and continuously lose money on you, they will stop booking you.
Yeah, they don't. That's the big thing that people kind of forget about, is like,
that's why I get irritated when they go, well, it's not about the money. Well, I'm like, well, it is for everyone else who's going to give you a shot.
Yeah, it's like they're not just
a crowd.
They're not just doing it because they enjoy music.
Correct.
That's part of it. That's the passion part of it.
Correct.
But they've got to, the people that are booking, the people that are, that they have a business to run, and it's not a charity, and that's where, like, you need to be a good band so that your that you have fans and people come, whatever. But, like, honestly, hypothetically, you could be a fucking shitty ass band, but if for whatever reason you're packing in 400 or 500 people every time you play, you're going to keep getting opportunities.
Yeah, and back in the day, that would be it. You wouldn't get bigger opportunities. But now, you can do everything on your own through the internet, literally through YouTube, all that shit. You could tour around the country, and if you can consistently pack 500 people easily, in any town you play in, dude,
and people don't understand how hard that is. Coming from somebody who toured,
it's the hardest number.
It's like 500 doesn't sound like a lot.
It's widely known.
500 in every fucking town is hard.
We used to talk about numbers, and I still maintain this to this day. I was taught back in the day, when you're just a starting off local band, 0 to 500 is the hardest fucking hill you'll ever climb. And then I came up with a second digit once you hit that 500. And the point is 0 to 500 in every town you play in.
Yeah.
So cool. You draw 500 people in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but you go to St. Cloud, which is only 40 minutes north, or maybe an hour north, and you draw 12. Now you ain't shit in that town. You went from literally hero to zero, like a Ricky Bobby movie.
Dude.
Okay? So now you got to draw 500 people in St. Cloud. Now you go to fucking Fargo or Duluth. 0 people show up. 17 people show up respectively in those 2 shows. Start over, bitch.
Yep.
So the key is 0 to 500 people in every fucking single town that you play in, regularly, easily, on occurrence, as an expectation, not a hope. That is the hardest hill you'll ever climb. Then I came up with the second number. You remember this? I said, so as we start doing that, I suddenly realized through thinking that way, I'm like, man, back in the day, if you would sell 1 million records, you were the hottest thing since sliced bread. But now with the internet, it's 100,000 records, right? I don't even know what that equates to in streams anymore. I can redo my math now, but just still think of this: just 100,000 CDs. If you actually did that nowadays, people are like, "Who? You sold 100,000 CDs, or any 100,000 units? So maybe you sold 60,000 CDs, 20,000 vinyl records, and fucking the rest are tapes.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All you got to do is go, okay, so because there's 330 million people in this country. So I got to get 1 out of 330 people to buy my shit. I can do that. If we have a good night, I can get 10, 20, even 30 people to buy my shit that night. You remember those nights.
Mm-hmm.
So we sold out of merch, and there was other nights where we didn't sell anything. The key is getting in front of 330 new night. That's what we struggled with. The internet eliminates that problem. So now it comes back to, are you putting down good content?
Yeah. And are you the new problem with the internet, like going
which
back
I clearly am not.
The new problem with the internet, going back to like my thing about thinking I discovered a new band and realizing that they were already in my phone, is you can easily get in front of those people, but are they going to remember you? Are they going to keep coming back? Again, because attention spans are short now. You know, we instantly move on to the next thing, and so I think that's the new challenge, and that's where I think like the newer generation is figuring out, you know, about having the constant content that's quick, that's, you know, and so they're just, and it's just a whole different way of doing it, you know, and I think it works for them. You know, it's not my favorite thing. Like I still, but I'm old, right? I still like albums.
But it also only works for a generation, right?
Yeah.
So over the last 3-4 years, I've watched people who hated anything long form or anything informative that's all they want.
Yeah.
They stop. And we went through this where all of a sudden we stopped listening to 93X or KQ or whatever. And all of a sudden we started listening to talk radio or sports talk radio. There's something that happens to us.
Yeah.
So it's just a type of market that if you want access to, you have to be able to figure out a way to make short form. And that's what these guys are like hammering to me, is they're like, Jared, you have to figure out a way to get on TikTok. And I'm like, I just don't see a way to make it happen. And they're like, dude, there is a way. And if you do it, your YouTube channel will explode.
Yeah.
You're not utilizing TikTok and Instagram properly. And I just don't want to sit there and edit content and try to like create this thing.
Well, because I feel like if you do that, I mean, I think they're right, but it could also skew the way that you do your podcast, because then you're going to be consciously or maybe subconsciously looking for the hits, looking to set up those.
Exactly right.
Those little, as opposed to just letting the conversation go, and it could be a podcast like tonight where we're not really being very funny, we're just having a conversation, right? Then there's other nights where we've been on a show together where we're just fucking pissing our pants laughing, right?
Right.
But if your focus is to have these quick little TikToks and this and that, it's going to change the way that you're approaching your podcast. Then you're going to be again looking for those the gotcha moments or whatever, you know.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think not only that, I think I also already know that in my subconscious, because I already avoid doing that generally. And I think if you start being conscious of short form content, you could easily start being subconscious of trying to set up clips and snips to bring false.
Yeah.
Reset. Oh, she's back. Thank God. New mixer's coming tomorrow.
Woo! But yeah,
did I show you that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I actually show you what I ordered, or did I just tell you what I ordered?
I think you told me.
I'm so distracted tonight. I
don't-
didn't
yeah,
even show
yeah.
you the picture. I got a Zoom L20 coming. So literally, if I choose, I can. If you wanted to, let's say you and I put together a fucking acoustic project, right? Me, you, and one or two other assholes.
Yeah.
Could even be a full band. Don't give a fuck. I really wanted to. Now I just need a couple extra cams, and I could fucking have an entire play right over here.
Nice.
I could just go, tick, and then we're
just
gonna
have it.
flip cams. Yep. I can take this on the road. I can bring this. Like, remember when I filled in for Dying Euphoria? And we were like, we wish we could record this. Remember, I brought my Zoom and I set up just 2 shit mics, so I could just I could do that same thing now, and have the entire drum set, all you guys and me, and backing vocal, everything.
Yeah.
I can do it with the podcast, everything.
Nice.
It's a game changer, bro.
Hell yeah.
Game changer, bro. I'm looking at you sexually right now. I'm like, it's a game changer, bro.
My dick is.
No, for me, it's a game changer because
Yeah.
I'm no longer going to be limited by inputs. Right, I should be able to do quite literally anything I want to do at this point, and I'm really excited, dude. Coming tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
It's coming tomorrow. Because, dude, this fucking, I don't know what's going on with my Scarlett, but it resets like that.
Yeah, I've noticed like the last few podcasts I've watched, there's been some
It's been doing this for a while.
just some little glitches or whatever, but
A lot of times it does it while the other person's talking, so viewers don't notice it.
yeah.
Just been coincidence and timing that it's been while I've been speaking
Yeah.
lately. But yeah, irritating me, man. And I'm trying to chase down the problem. Like, what's the device that's doing it? Is it a power source issue? Is it a ground issue? Is there something else in the house that's kicking on, shorting something out that's making it reset? I can't figure it out yet.
Yeah.
I'm chasing that down. And I guarantee you by the time I figure it out, we're going to move. We're going to like move the podcast to its own legitimate studio.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to start over. I guarantee you that's just how things work, man.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you start figuring out, oh, not really a problem anymore because it works.
So fucking GraveZig tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so you're playing with Wolf Mask. Shout out to the Stormbreaker boys. Apparently Logan and his dad Brad are going to be there. I'm going to try to make it out if I can.
Should be cool, man.
This is usually where I ask if you can throw me on the list, but with you guys in that band, I'm literally just sneaking in the back door. I'm just coming in.
It's so this will be my first time playing a show since you filled in for DE at the whatever they call it now, Route 47.
I really wanted to talk more about this, and I apologize. I am so excited that you're back out there and doing stuff, dude.
It's like I said, I mean it's funny that it's with a tribute band or whatever, but at the same time, like, it's perfect for where I'm at in life right now, I guess, like
I would like to think that this podcast has like 1% responsibility in keeping that pilot light lit long enough for you to get back on stage. Since that fill in.
Think
1%.
I joined GraveZig before your podcast though.
No.
Yeah.
No, because I correctly guessed that you had just joined GraveZig when Alex had come on the podcast, and he was like several episodes.
I should say, before I was on your podcast anyways.
Correct.
Yeah, because I joined GraveZig in it was like January 2020, and then we had a show booked for May of 2020, and then the world ended with COVID and all that bullshit. And then it just lay dormant, and then we just never.
Oh, so definitely before the podcast. Yeah. Well, 1% gone. Hope gone. It's over.
But it's no, like I said, it's been awesome, man. It's great to Dan and I were talking about this the other weekend too. It's like I've known Dan for like 20 years. I've known Alex for probably 15, 16 years, maybe more. But now like we're actually friends. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between, you know, I know you. We're acquaintances. We hang out. We go to shows. Whatever. Our bands play together. But there's a difference between that and then like becoming actual friends. You know, and like throughout this whole thing, it's like.
Well, and we should explain this just one more time. We did talk about this earlier, but Brad is asking us just to quickly clarify who the other members of GraveZig are.
Yeah, okay.
We did talk about this, but let's just clarify it again.
So
might have been when we dropped out.
So Dan Copy and Alex Kelly, they are both in Reaping Asmodea, or as Bernie called them, Raping Amadeus. I loved that.
When they put out the contest, I think the one that won was Raping My Gay Ass All Day.
Yeah, Bernie was like, I really like that one band, Raping Amadeus. He was serious. He's like, oh, you mean Reaping Asmodea? Yeah, I like those guys.
Yeah, those guys.
But yeah, I miss
Bernie.
So Alex plays bass in GraveZig, so he's Jerry only or Alex only, and then Dan sings in GraveZig, so he's Dan Zig. And
it's great. It's great.
Yeah, perfect, right? But in Reaping Asmodea, Dan is the drummer, and then Alex is the guitar player, and it's kind of funny because Dan is easily one of the best drummers in the state. He's fucking phenomenal. Alex easily.
If you especially if you niche it down to style, he's probably top 2 or 3.
Oh, for like tech death. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Rulin maybe.
I don't know anybody who's
Densmer maybe. Java maybe.
Fuck, but Dan. Dude,
I mean, those 4 are in that argument for the top 3.
Oh yeah, Dan is just. He's a fucking animal. He's been an animal fucking forever, and he just like one of those dudes. Like he just continues to raise the bar. But and then Alex is just a ridiculous guitar player. I mean, that guy
on bass,
and he's playing bass, yeah. And then I'm playing guitar, like, that whole thing is funny too, because it's like Alex grew up sort of inspired or influenced or whatever by Kyle and I, you know. And then you fast forward now, and he's fucking easily surpassed us, you know.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. So you were in a band with Kyle. Kyle works at the pawn shop. Alex got a job at the pawn shop. Alex got a referral from Kyle to join Six.
Yep.
Then ended up in the Body Beneath. Then
with Dead Hands Rising.
With Dead Hands Rising, which turned into Reaping Asmodea. And all these years later, you join his tribute band. Like, what the fuck?
Dude, it's the whole thing, man. It's like
it's like a weird spiral. Yeah. It's not even a circle. It's like a spiral.
It's another reminder.
Somewhere in there, Alex broke his hand in a tragic car accident.
Yeah.
And through an insane rehab and recovery, became from a middling guitar player to a prolific guitar player.
I mean, the guy is just it's ridiculous, dude. And then Jay, the drummer, he drums for Rip Snorter, which I mean that's like they're like a long time kind of a big name in the punk scene. And then he also drums for Die Ghost. And honestly, he's probably drummed for he's another household name, I guess, really, like in the local scene or whatever, in regional scene. So those are the guys in GraveZig. They all have their own gigs. I believe they started GraveZig just to do one of those Dimebag tributes, you know, where they like.
That sounds right.
Yeah, like basically like little like local scene super groups come together to do a tribute band and they play whatever. And so they did the GraveZig one, and then it just kind of took off a little bit. Like, you know, I didn't really realize it when I joined, but like. Yeah, like there's a lot of people that really like GraveZig. It's kind of like they really look forward to it and stuff. So it's really cool. So and
they do it smart too. They don't play every month or every 3 months.
No,
it's like once or twice a year, basically.
Yeah.
At usually an event like a Dimebag tribute show. That's where it started. So if there's a Dimebag tribute show, almost every year GraveZig is willing to play
and
it.
Crypticon, they do Crypticon.
Yeah.
This year, because of the intangibles with COVID, we didn't end up getting on Crypticon, but I'm sure we'll do it the following year.
I wouldn't be surprised if it like actually ends up like blowing up and working and becoming like actually profitable.
We've talked about that lately, about how especially with me coming on board. That sounds horrible the way I just prefaced that, but I think me coming on board, having not been active in music for a while, I think I've brought like maybe a newfound hunger and excitement for it, because I can see it with the conversations that we have at practice now, where it's kind of like this could be a thing.
Well, and,
this could be
and the way I've talked and hung out with all of you guys, I'm friends with all of you guys.
Yeah.
And I can literally pretend I'm a fly on that wall, and I guarantee you those conversations aren't fantasy driven. You guys talk like you're running a business.
Yeah. I mean,
it's about what is worth our time, what is worth our money, where is worth our energy. Because this started off as just a fun hobby idea side thing, and now there's like, it's almost like Strapping Young Lad. Like, there's real, only it's not original music, but there's real momentum starting. Even just grumblings on the underground local scene, but it's basically like within the next 2 years, there's going to be an opportunity or several to jump it to a national level.
I could definitely, I honestly could see it, because it's weird. Like it's a side project for those guys because their main project is so serious. So it's a fun side project.
It's super serious.
Yeah.
It's so
super serious.
It's super serious. It's so serial.
But at the same time, like we take it seriously. Like the costumes, and really trying to make sure that we're like being like a pretty authentic representation of the Misfits. Especially with like Jay is a massive fucking Misfits fan. So like that dude, like he knows, you know what I mean? Like this is what we got to do, and this is how that, like he's like a Misfits encyclopedia. So that helps with the integrity of it. And then I think with the rest of us, it's just I mean, I see it like I could see us probably, maybe being one of the tribute bands that plays Rockfest or something. I mean, I could see us doing that kind of shit.
But here's what I'm saying. All over the country.
Yeah, I could see that, because
like as a legitimate pull band, not just like, hey, you guys are cool, you want to open the side stage. Like, no, like I see it within 2 years from now. I see doors and potential being opened where people are going, hey man, like we'll pay you $5,000 to come down to Iowa and do the Iowa State Fair. And basically, you're going to fucking headline the main stage the night before Hairball.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like shit like that.
Yeah, and especially because of
hey, we want to bring you on Rockfest, and we're going to pay you $15,000.
Instead of you having to do the buy-on or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or we'll let you on for free, but we're not going to pay you. Yeah. That kind of shit. Like I legitimately see that as a possibility. Like,
I could see it. I mean, like
it's almost... I guess is what I'm getting at is I feel like your tribute band is so niche, but done well enough to where, and it's not yours, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The one you're in.
Yeah.
Like tribute bands like Hairball and things like that, they almost do better and have more potential than just a cover band.
Yeah, because it's an experience. It's I mean the GraveZig thing. I mean we're creating a Misfits experience. I mean like I said, we take it seriously. Like Alex has the Jerry only outfit. He just got the Jerry only bass. Unfortunately, it won't be here for the show tomorrow. But he got and to get that kind of stuff, it's not like trying to get the James Hetfield guitar. I mean, like they don't mass produce these things. They're hard to get. I got really lucky getting the Doyle guitar because I think it was Jay's brother, found some guy selling the prototype in California, and I snagged it right away. But
wow.
So it's like, I mean, when I do Google like Misfit tribute bands, I mean it's the Misfits. It's not real hard to replicate the music. it's hard to replicate the stage presence.
It now makes sense why Andy's not in that band anymore. It got to way too serious for him. It's knowing Andy as well as I know him now, which isn't as well as a lot of people know him, but way more. I know Andy so much better than I did a year ago. It makes perfect sense why he's not in the fucking band anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it absolutely adds up with the conversations I've had with him on the podcast and off the podcast about him having the same fucking freak out when things with our little podcast crew were getting too serious. It's all adding up now. And like, it clearly was better for him to leave, but I also think it was better for the band for him to leave. And like, you're buying in, you're trying to like honor this vision.
Oh,
and that is going to be I think it's going to be a better experience. I'm already excited for it. I hope I can come tomorrow night. I had and have plans to come tomorrow night.
Yeah.
It's just, everything's up in the air with my dad and shit.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Well, yeah, dude, it's but yeah, we're definitely, like I said, I mean, I've got the full Doyle getup. I made a Doyle wig. Like Kyle gave me, because Kyle used to be in GraveZig too years ago.
Yeah.
So he gave me some tips.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I was trying to figure out how to do the wig. So I bought a wig that I thought would work, that I was going to shape, and then Kyle was like, no, he said, get a black Rod Stewart wig. And he's like, because then you can just cut the hair off the back. Whoa.
Oh!
You can cut the hair off the back and then turn that into the devil's lock, and then it's already kind of spiky. And then so I turned it into the Doyle faux hawk with like hair gel and like that extreme cold hairspray. So I got
How
that.
do you keep it on your head?
It just, because I have the stubble on my head, it just keeps acts like Velcro.
What is it?
Hair?
Is it like a mesh?
Oh yeah, it's just a mesh. And so the little tiny mesh netting just grips my stubble. And
have you headbanged super hard with it?
Yeah. In fact, I wore it. We did a dress rehearsal last night, and plus I practiced with it before too. So yeah, no, it's fucking legit.
What's the game plan if it falls off?
I just put it back on, I guess. I don't know.
You're not going to do that while you're playing. I'm going to have to run on stage and put it back on for you.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine, but yeah.
I'm going to be there. If I'm there, I'm going to be side stage. You know that, right? Like almost everybody that knows me is I'm a side stage guy. And some people think it's because I want to be seen by the crowd. It's like, no, it's where the best sound is, because that's where the side stage sound guy, the not front of house, the fucking, oh my God. What's the other mix called?
I don't know. The monitor mix, dude.
Yeah, the monitor mix.
I don't know what
stage
he's called,
mix, whatever.
Yeah.
That's where the best sound is.
Tomorrow night, though, like I was telling you, it's kind of it's more of a punk vibe for that venue, so it's not like they don't have like a full.
Doesn't matter. Still sit inside stage. Because then I get your actual tone instead of that shit PA and the fucking bounce back.
They're not even micing the guitars.
You told me.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely side stage, dude. Everything you're saying is just more reasons for me to be on the side stage, because it's just gonna sound better.
But yeah, dude, I've taken it very seriously with all that. The only thing is and the guys keep giving me crap about this because they've seen me with my shirt off, and they're like, you can be on stage shirtless, because Doyle is ripped, right?
Yeah.
But I told them but the way I move my body on stage, I know somebody's gonna catch a picture of me shirtless, contorted like a pretzel, and it's gonna be like the horrible angle, and that's gonna be the one that some dickhead's gonna tag me on Facebook.
You gotta go shirtless, but we gotta dark paint your cleavage and under your you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So really accentuate and even make muscles that aren't there.
That's what Dan's girlfriend Caitlin was telling me, that because she's really good with all that makeup stuff.
Yeah, girls do it on Instagram for their tits.
Well, she told me, she's looking at pictures of Doyle, she's like, I can tell that they airbrush around his now Doyle's ripped already, but they airbrush around it. But yeah, so I told the guys, I said, by the Halloween show, I think I'll feel confident with the Doyle physique. Right now, I don't feel, I told him the only way I'd be able to go shirtless is if I can just stand there with the perfect, okay, I'm flexed if I stand just like this, I'm gonna look good, and I don't want to do that. I want to run around and be me,
Yeah.
So other than that though, everything else is like authentic Doyle. But yeah, and then Dan, I mean, Dan does he mimics, I think, more the Michael Graves stage moves than Danzig, just because Michael Graves was just more whatever animated, and Dan jumps and runs around and shit. But yeah, dude, I just and then plus we've got a whole stage production too, which
which definitely wasn't there a couple years ago.
No.
I'm excited, dude. I really want to come, man. Where is it again?
I don't know how much
for the viewers and listeners that are in town.
North Star Bar and Grill. What is it? 883 Payne.
You don't have to give the North Star Bar and Grill, St. Paul.
St. Paul.
See, this is what pisses me off. We talked about this at the beginning. Bar and Grill. It just makes us sound like we're fucking
we're throwing down on an Applebee's.
Yeah. It's what the fuck is our fucking town come to? Every venue, if you're not playing a legit big time venue, is now. There's no cool underground. You know what I mean?
I suppose
really?
It's it's one of those things. This place, they're from my understanding, they're just starting to get into the live music thing, and so it's which is cool because it's thank God some venues taking a chance and doing that or whatever.
But take
yeah,
bar
so
and grill out of your name then.
But it's that's not their music. Isn't their main.
It just doesn't make
money. It's not their main source of revenue.
It's humiliating when you're trying to promote a show.
Oh, as a band, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I've telling people, oh, where are you guys playing?
Yeah, it's a bar and grill.
I just say the North, the North Star, because it makes me feel like I'm Mark Wahlberg at the end of Rockstar.
Does GraveZig have a website, or is it just on Facebook?
I think right now we just have Facebook. One of the things. And I know we're working on. So we have merch too tomorrow. So we got T-shirts printed. So we're actually gonna have GraveZig T-shirts.
What's the GraveZig Facebook or whatever it is?
It's just go to GraveZig on Facebook.
There's only one.
There's just one.
Okay.
Yeah. So we haven't even done an Instagram yet. I mean, I think all those things are coming because now I feel like as a entity we know the potential of what we could do. And so we're going to be leveling up. That's why we got shirts made. That's what prior to recently, I think it was more hey, this is kind of a fun thing. We like the Misfits. Whereas now it's hey, we could really do something with this. We could make this a thing. This could be, especially with
this could be the thing that allows you guys to focus on original music in your other projects without having to worry about other income streams.
And that that would, because Dan and Dan and Alex, their main gig is Reaping as Medea. So that obviously is going to take precedence because that's a real deal. You know what I mean? They're signed to Prosthetic. They do real tours. They're a real band. So
and honestly, their biggest anchor in their lives are day jobs at this point.
Yeah,
which are very part-time. They're really probably one of the closest bands I've known in a long time that is right fucking on the cusp of never having to go back to work. You remember we've had this conversation with the Diecast dude and other guys where when they weren't on tour, they worked at Best Buy and slept on their mom's couch, and it was depressing and it killed some of our hope.
Yeah.
For some of us. Some other people. I literally heard that conversation referenced, the conversation you and I had with that dude.
Yeah.
I've heard that conversation referenced in other people's lives in this town where they quit music because of that day. They weren't even there.
Yeah.
They just heard us tell people that.
Yeah.
And they quit the band.
Well,
because if they can't quit Best Buy, then I'm not going to. And they were done.
Yeah.
They were like, I guess I'm just going to work at Best Buy then. And it was like, how does that math work? What the fuck? No, you got to be way more successful than Diecast.
Yeah.
You just got to not follow.
And you got to try
kill,
to
switch, engage and try to replicate a metalcore. I mean, come on, dude. It's a one-hit wonder band, basically. A one album. That one album was dope.
God,
and they had that one
so
song on that one album that was super dope.
Internal Revolution, that album is fucking
But there's
so
a
good.
1,000 bands we can put in that category that I just...
Yeah.
And it's not because that's what the music industry is. It's because that's the path that band chose.
Yeah, and there's so many intangibles to that. I mean, like during that time period when like metal or metalcore, whatever you want to call it, was experiencing a resurgence. It was very
No. I'm not even talking about that. Hold on. I'm not even talking. I'm saying any one of those dudes could have been doing other shit to not work at Best Buy.
Oh yeah.
They could have been jobbers on the road for other people.
Yeah, they could have tried to figure.
They could have
out,
had a GraveZig. Yeah. Okay, they could have done what Adam D did and produced other bands.
And,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like any one of those guys could have been full-time musicians.
Yeah.
They chose. They had the opportunities. They were in the fucking industry on fucking tour, and when they went home, they chose to work at Best Buy and sleep on their mom's couch.
Yeah.
Because they had no other drive or talent or ability. It's not. They did not lack opportunity. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. Well, I think, and sometimes too, especially back at that time, I think the idea of like, this is my band, this is my baby. I think there was more of that back then. You know what I mean? Because like that era of bands, which I guess I'm part of, we grew up with the Guns N' Roses and the Metallicas and the Motley Crues or whatever, where like they didn't have side gigs. You know what I mean? Like you committed to your band and you put everything into that band. Whereas now I think people look at it. I
remember us having this exact conversation when I wanted to start a side project and you weren't comfortable with it because Dying Euphoria needed all of my energy. And I was like, dude, it's not. For me, I was trying, and I didn't have the words.
Yeah.
But now it was like, Dying Euphoria can't pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the deal.
Yeah.
Like, until Dying Euphoria can pay the bills, I got to do other shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's
a tough, I mean, you know, even to this day, I could go either way on it because it's like, it's hard enough for a band to make it when all 5 people are 100% dedicated to it. So how hard is it if they're not? But then at the same time, if somebody else's side gig starts to get some traction, that can help bring some attention to the main gig. I mean, there's a lot of angles.
But it can also fucking take energy from the main gig.
Yeah.
Right? But
so it's really hard to...
If you can figure out a way to pay the bills doing other music instead of working 40 hours a week for a corporation, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
Because you should have more flexibility as a musician in 4 other bands than you do working 40, 50 hours. Oh, I can't. You guys remember Rain? Yeah, I lost that job. Why? Because they said I couldn't play that Mankato show. Wait, what?
Yeah.
They were like, they wanted me to work on Saturday. I picked the show. He lost his job because of that.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen if you're in 4 other bands and you go, dude, no, I can't book that show because I have this other gig I want to play. They go, okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it works.
It depends. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I mean, like if it was...
It's up to Rain at that point.
Yeah. I mean, if
Rain gets to decide which gig he plays is what I'm getting at.
And then at that point, though, I would probably look at it and be like, well, if you're choosing that gig over our gig, you can choose that band over our band too. You know, but I also subscribe more to the James Hetfield school of thought.
But I agree with you because I agree with you. I want to say, but I agree with you because the verbiage we've chosen, right? I said side project and you said choose that band over this band.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So what I wanted to do was start a side project for supplemental income.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is reprioritization.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
And then the other...
in that respect, because no, you're prioritizing that band above ours then, and we need somebody this is their top priority.
Yeah.
That's a different story. I was talking about but we had that conversation, you know, and we brought up the Jason Newsted thing, and we brought up those other guys.
Yeah, because like
that's the industry was different back then.
I subscribe a little bit to the James Hetfield school of thought on that, where I do think that it dilutes the main brand. And I mean, I see that even now, like bands where because they have to do that. Like, I totally get it. Like, they've got to diversify so that they can make an income off music. So they have their main band, but then they've got their YouTube channel, and they've got this, and they've
corporate speak. Those are verticals.
Yeah.
Those are different verticals within the same industry.
And so I get that, but the other thing that it does, and maybe it's just me, and maybe it's because of the era I grew up in, but what it does for me as a fan, and a listener, is now your band is, to me, just something that I listen to sometimes, as opposed to a band that I follow. Because I kind of feel like, oh, you're just kind of a project.
Sure.
You know, when you guys have time, you get together and make an album, and then you go do this other stuff. But again, that's just a product of the way that I chose to perceive the bands that I grew up with. You know, the Guns N' Roses, the Metallicas, this is the fucking unit, right? And this is what they do. And so for me, it's weird to see that spread out amongst many venues.
What about a Dave Grohl though? Right? So Dave Grohl's Foo Fighters, but then he goes and he joins fucking, what was it called? God, I love the band too. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. I even have the song in my head.
Fuck.
I even have the song in my head with the ginger that sings, that everyone hates. Apparently he's a dick. The big, tall, redhead dude. And you go with the flow.
I don't know.
Oh, fuck. What is that band called? Guys, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then he also drummed for Tenacious D.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl did.
Yeah.
I still can't think of the name of that band.
I think...
Hey, Siri. See if she figures this out.
It's not Probot or whatever, right?
No. And they just gave me Foo Fighters.
But for me, that's
Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, Queen. So for me, it doesn't because I'm not like I guess maybe because Dave Grohl was famous for Nirvana, I almost look at Foo Fighters as sort of a project.
I feel like he's more known for Foo Fighters now.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's more known as Dave Grohl than he is even. And that's what I think most of us, that's what I'm really getting at.
Yeah.
Is like more of us need to be Dave Grohl. Okay, so you're a bitchin' drummer and you have a band.
Yeah.
Right? So you made it in Nirvana, but then you started your own project, your band. That shit blew up. You're pretty fucking good at guitar and singing and all that shit. Like, you're kind of a legend already. But you're still a bitchin' drummer. So he joins Queens of the Stone Age for an album. He fucks with Tenacious D a little bit. Like, he expands his brand. He explores, he expands the drumming vertical.
And maybe that's where...
So now people can just be a fan of Dave Grohl.
And maybe
not just the Foo Fighters.
Maybe that's where, for me, and I'm only speaking for me, maybe that's why it's not really my thing. Because I feel like... as much as I like most genres of music, at heart I'm a metal and rock guy, and I feel once it starts to become a somebody is just becoming their brand instead of their band. Now we're in the pop and hip hop world, which nothing wrong with that, but like what makes metal and rock special for me is the band of brothers, the unit, So you're not into Slash beyond Guns N' Roses. And I'm not trying to get you in a gotcha moment. I'm exploring this idea. So like, is what you're explaining is like, you're a fan of Guns N' Roses, but Slash's Snake Pit and anything else Slash has done, you feel like it's kind of almost derivative? Because that's what he's trying to do is, as a lead guitar player, brand himself as that was
Slash.
After Guns N' Roses. That was after he wasn't part of Guns N' Roses, and now he's back. But whether it was by choice or not, if he had done all those side projects while Guns
and I
N'
hope
Roses.
people don't think I'm trying to argue with you.
No,
so
no.
I'm just bringing up examples.
Yeah,
Okay,
and,
so
and
I get
this is just
so
my
what
perspective.
About, and that's the point of the podcast, right? Is like I want to explore other people's perspectives, right? So when I do this, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm bringing up because
I'll finish my thought around the Guns N' Roses Slash thing.
But I get it. I want to ask you another example, and this is part of my flaw, but also part of my strength.
Yeah.
The Slash thing, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Point gotten. Jack White. Okay, White Stripes. Then he's got the Racketeers or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
He's built his own brand.
So that's the same kind of thing. So I don't really look at any of those as bands. They're just Jack White projects. I don't see that as like, I don't see that as the band that you grow and identify with. It's just
interesting. Okay.
And that, like I said, and I know that that's just a product of what I grew up with music, like it's weird because at the same time, like I don't know how to, like, somebody could do a solo album, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Let's say Guns N' Roses never disbanded and it just kept going, and then Slash wanted to just do a solo album or whatever.
Slash the Snake Pit.
Yeah, and like that I guess
let's just call it that for the sake of argument.
So like that probably, if it was like a one-off thing and he did a little tour and then he went back and then Guns N' Roses, like that wouldn't really dilute the brand for me. But if it became like what,
it's interesting because I can't argue with what you're saying.
Yeah,
I just.
And it's just, again, it's all perspective.
I don't even think I see it differently. It's almost, I think the best way to say it is I've almost never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I've almost never thought of it that way because, I don't know. It's weird because I'm trying to put it in perspective of like my megalith. So like Metallica.
Yeah.
James starts a side project. How do I feel about that? I'm automatically following it.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
I'm such a fan of him already.
Yeah,
I'm immediately in. Here's another real world example. Claudio from Coheed and Cambria started a side project. Immediately in.
Yeah,
no questions asked. I'm in because I'm a fan of that dude.
Yeah.
But God, I don't know.
For me, there's so many intangibles though, because as you were talking about that, I started to think if James Hetfield had started a side project during the Injustice for All time period, I would have been like, what the fuck, dude? No, Metallica. You're Metallica. But if James Hetfield started a side project now,
or during the Load era,
or where Metallica is like, it's almost like this is going to sound wrong, but they're done building as a band. They're building as a brand, but as a band, they're kind of like,
I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Then it doesn't, because the band becomes so fucking big at that point in time where, I don't know, like, it's not as weird then if there's a side project or there's this or that, but like in the coming up stages, it would be definitely weird. Like I said, James does a side project after Injustice for All or even the Black Album. That'd be fucking weird to me. James does a side project now that Metallica is essentially they're a brand now more than a band. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he's going to fucking go do a country album. Yeah, that makes sense to me. He's still going to do Metallica.
Right.
Metallica's only releasing an album every 5-6 years anyways. It's not really fucking that up. But when you're in that trajectory where it's write an album, tour for 2 years, new album, tour for 2 years, and all of a sudden now I don't get to hear my band for 5 years because you decided to go do this,
I think I see what you're saying. It's almost like when a TV show starts to explode and then those actors start doing movies and other shit.
Yeah.
And it literally starts to impact the product of the original thing.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if those guys start doing that, because when you originally mentioned that, it's like, yeah, if he did it during, the Injustice for All era, it's like, what, are you becoming a diva now?
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, you're too big for the band.
Or here's where the other mindset went for me. You see the end of this coming.
Yeah, there's that too. The writing's on the wall. Oh, my favorite band,
David Lee Roth.
is gonna. Yeah.
David Lee Roth started his side project before he left Van Halen.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that.
There's that angle too. Yeah, like it the perception is reality thing. It's
Almost like cheating.
In many ways, like
it feels like cheating.
In many ways, like James's hang up with Jason and the Echo Brain thing, there is some truth to that. That it creates a perception that the band, that something's happening, it's falling apart. Now I'm going to completely contradict everything I just said by also saying, as a musician, I understand. I don't begrudge a musician from doing any of that. You're a musician. You're a creator. You need to be able to have these outlets and create as much as you want.
Right. And that's what I was just about to say too, is like, what if Metallica is not giving you musically enough because you're just the bass player for these other guys' deal. Yep. You want to write this other style of music that can't possibly be expressed within this project. Now we're stifling you as a creative human being. That's almost like being like an abusive husband.
Yeah, and that's so that's
like
where
not allowing your wife to have a career because she's not going to be the proper homemaker.
And that
I just went super dark, but like that's how it feels.
And that's the conflict for me, because it's like
therein lies the rub.
Because I 100%, not only do I understand it, like I do think you should be able to do all of that, but I can't help it. It also affects how I don't want it to do this, but it affects how I see the main band now. I don't see it as serious of an entity, or that's not even the right way to say it, but it just dilutes it.
What if we think about it differently as a reverse supergroup, right?
Yeah.
So like, this is the band, and then they diversify, and we're cool with it as long as the band stays the band. So they still do shit every 2 to 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I get it. It's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But at least we still get the band, and it's the reverse supergroup. So instead of a bunch of other bands breaking up and coming together, this is the supergroup, and now we just get like offshoots of the supergroup. Yeah. So we don't ever really have to worry about the Beatles. And that's what I'm getting at. I think we could actually circumvent bands breaking up. Because you don't have to have your entire musical identity built into this. And it'll humble some bass players who think they can write guitar riffs. Hold on, Lemmy. It'll humble some bass players who think that, hey guys, I got a song. Okay, start your side project. Write all your songs. Let's all start side projects. Let's see whose project does the best. And then when we get back together, maybe it'll be a little easier to make some of these decisions on songwriting.
You guys never used my songs.
Yeah, there's a fucking reason, because you sold 12 albums.
You had 15 streams, and 14 of them was your mom.
We looked at the IP addresses. Just slap the bass and fucking do your thing, dude. Like, let Eddie Van Halen be Eddie Van Halen. Stop pretending you're the band.
To circle back to what we were talking about.
These are all metaphors. These are all, we're not talking about anybody we've been in a band with. These are all super, we're not, this is all a hypothetical joke metaphor for the entire music industry.
Especially because, and I'll just say it right now, like every bass player that Ben and Tim, I guess those are the main ones, we're both awesome guitar players and awesome songwriters. So definitely not talking about, Not talking about that at all. So like they were both guitar players.
It's just the stereotype
who
of
play
bass players.
But
There's always that joke of the drummer or the bass player.
Yeah.
The last words they said in their band before they got kicked out.
I
wrote a song.
I wrote a song.
I wrote a song, guys.
Oh, that's cool. We're gonna put it over here on the fridge.
And here's the other thing. I've also been a drummer and I've played bass for people. So like it's a joke. It's just a stereotype we're making fun of.
But it's funny, like you could go full circle all the way back to what we were talking about earlier about relationships and the Netflix syndrome and like thinking that open relationships might become more common because people blah blah. It's almost like the band thing. It's like becomes an open relationship as opposed to a marriage. When you start doing
if you
side
think
projects.
about it, though, it always has been because we're married to 4 other dudes, but they have girls. So right there, it's an open marriage.
Yeah.
Like so all we're doing is like knocking down the false fidelity of it and going, hey, we all got to make money. We want to keep the band together.
Yeah.
Right. Like kind of what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Either we can keep our friendship or the band together. In this situation, it's we can keep our income streams or we can keep the band together.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to choose the band together to keep the band together, which actually, in irony, if you look at it correctly, allows you to build the other income streams, which are your side projects or other avenues. Like some guy needs to be a sound guy. Right? Like that's what your drummer does. He's a sound guy. You're not going to guilt that guy for, I can't play that show because I'm fucking running sound for Megadeth that night. Yeah. You're going to go, dude, that's awesome. Right?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Honestly, we're not even being shitty right now. That's what we do. That's fucking awesome. Okay. Yeah. Can we get tickets?
Yeah.
Right? We're not. But if the guy's in another band and he's on stage that night opening for Megadeth, suddenly we're jealous. Suddenly it's not okay because he's not in our band.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of
layers. You see what I'm saying? Like as we explore this idea, we constantly contradict ourselves the moment we explore it further.
Which highlights the fact that it is a complex thing because the more you peel the onion, the more you realize there's contradictions to it. Yeah, because it's like you can go be in the music industry as a sound guy or a tech or whatever,
and that's cool.
But you can't play the same instrument that you play in this band for that band,
right?
Because now you're cheating. Now you're cheating on us. You know,
it's so weird. It's so silly.
You know, but at the same time, it's like I get it too. Like
I want to think about this more. I want to think about this more, and I want to talk about this in the next time you come on.
Yeah.
Because you're becoming a regular. Thank you, by the way.
I was thinking that on the way here. I think I've been like one of your most recurring guests.
It's quickly becoming like you, Wheeler, Jamal is right up there. And I got to get Jamal back on because it's been a minute. He always waits for me to reach out to him, but I'm trying to get Jamal to be the guy to like keep an eye on things and then be like, no, we need to do a podcast. That's why I discussed the scheduling change.
Yeah.
Like where I'm going to start, like I'm booking these people on Tuesdays. And then I want like you to hit me up or any of the OGs to hit me up and be like, dude, this just happened. We need to do a podcast. I'm like, all right, this Thursday. Now we're doing 2 this week.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I want to do it. So that like all the OGs, you guys reach out when you want to do something and I'll just have a Thursday open.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try to roll with this for a month or 2, but I want to think more about this. And next time you come on, I want to explore this further.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to it for sure, you know?
I think this is a good conversation to have.
Especially nowadays because it's kind of a necessary evil. I really don't know that I don't know that you can do it the old way anymore.
And I even want to discuss that. Is it even an evil?
Yeah.
Like, is it even a necessary? Was it ever a necessary evil? Or was it just necessary and versus now?
Yeah.
Like, because we're definitely, I know you have to work. You don't have a hard out, but I know we're quickly coming up at 9 o'clock. Yeah, we're pretty much at 9.
Yeah,
and I know you kind of wanted to wrap this up around 9. So yeah, dude, because this is a conversation, and these are the types of conversations I love really having. And this is really the point of the podcast is like, I love to think about things out loud with other people like this and explore where this could go.
Well, and who would have thought that? I never would have thought this was ever where the conversation was going to go.
I kind of warned you. I told you tonight was probably going to be weird.
Well, no, but not like in a weird way. I just like this was not a topic I ever would have thought of.
Fair.
That we would have, that we would have talked about, you know.
But that's also kind of what I mean by weird.
Yeah.
Is like, dude, like I rarely have an actual plan going into these things.
Yeah.
I usually have kind of a general game plan and general outline. And it's a lot of improv on the fly, like you mentioned, reactionary, right?
Yeah.
There was none of that. I didn't even have it in me to do an ad read, promo flyer.
Yeah.
I was kind of thankful you didn't send me anything because I know that you've like started doing some decent photos for your. By the way, where can people follow you online?
Just Facebook is just Jeremy Blake. Instagram now is Jeremy_A_Blake.
I think it's Jeremy Blake Music.
I'm sorry. Instagram is just Jeremy Blake.
Oh, it's YouTube that's Jeremy Blake Music?
Yeah, YouTube is Jeremy Blake Music. If you're on Facebook and you just go to my profile, right in my public information, right on my Facebook is the link to my Instagram and my YouTube.
Dude, we got to get you set up with the link tree. It's free.
Cool.
It's all of it. You just put that in everything, and it's like they click that, and they go to a little thing, and it shows everything you got, and they can go wherever they are. Oh, Spotify, oh, YouTube, oh, fucking whatever you're on, wherever they are, they can.
That'll be good. Like, because like right now, it's like, I know people probably don't believe me, but like, especially with how active I'm on Facebook, but like, I don't really care if I get like all these followers or whatever. It's just more or less.
If people are interested and they connect with you.
if you are interested and you want to, you know, and maybe at some point, I mean,
and these are great ways to get updates on GraveZig and all the other shit. You have going
that
on
for
as
sure.
well.
And then, you know, and I mean, ultimately with this stuff that I've been doing with like just my solo music stuff, I mean, ultimately I plan on getting together with Ian and recording. Doing an actual solo album. Once I do that, then I'm gonna care about like, all right, you know.
So if you're excited about these potential ideas, make sure you guys follow him at Jeremy Blake Music on YouTube, Jeremy A. Blake on
Instagram,
and just Jeremy Blake.
Jeremy Blake on Facebook.
We got to tighten all that up. You got to get one name for all of them. We'll figure that out. I think Jeremy Blake Music is the way to go. Do it.
I could do it.
Change them all.
I suppose.
But make them all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just easy, dude. And then GraveZig's tomorrow night.
GraveZig tomorrow night at the North Star in St. Paul. The show starts, it's like 8. 3 bands, Die Ghost, Wolf Mask, GraveZig. GraveZig will be on stage by about 10. The music has to be done by like 11:30, so you can have somewhat of an early night.
And it's going to be a spot because some of the dopest musicians in town are going to be there. I'm hoping to be there tomorrow night.
It's going to be the place to be.
It really is. Like, and that's not like some weird, shitty fucking shame. No, there's going to be some heavy hitters there tomorrow night.
I think a lot of people
like,
are
it's going to be the spot to hang out. Like, let's go.
I think a lot of people
are back, baby.
Ready to get out, ready to see a show.
Stormbreaker's going to be there tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to be there tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Come out, have a good time, buy a ticket.
Dude, come out, have some drinks, fucking catch some fun
and
punk
come
music.
hang out with us, take some pictures, chat. Fucking throw it up on your own Instagrams. It's going to be a great night. If you guys haven't already, please hit like and subscribe to this channel. Go hit up GraveZig on Facebook as well. Hopefully we see you guys tomorrow night. And next time you come on, I want to explore this idea further.
Yeah.
Is having side projects ever been the equivalent of cheating? That's the question. That's what I want to get into deep, because we can explore this further and how it works nowadays. And I think that would be a great thing to talk about further. Some of you guys have texted me. Thank you for all your kind words about what's going on with my dad. I love you guys. Please hit subscribe. And we're going to see you next week.
All right.
I forgot who's next on the calendar. I should probably promote that, shouldn't I? Because I put out a thing on Instagram. Do you remember who's next week? I don't fucking
know.
You're on the same fucking flyer.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. This is how worthless I am.
I'm not even on the right app.
I had 0 things ready or organized for tonight. Who is coming on next? We got it right here. July guests. All right. Jeremy Blake. Next week is Will Maravellis.
Ooh.
Will Maravellis is coming
on
the 13th. Next week, Will Maravellis is coming on. I'm excited for it. Hopefully, I'm not an emotional mess like I was tonight.
Dude, I'm excited for that. I'll definitely be in the chat for that
Jeremy,
one.
thank you for coming out tonight, buddy.
Dude.
Honestly, man, there's nobody I'd rather have on a weird night like tonight, dude. This is great to have you tonight, man. Thank you very much, and thank you guys for tuning in with me and hanging out hanging out with us, and hopefully we see you tomorrow night at the GraveZig show. Yeah. Love you guys.